The Forerunner artifact had been pulsing for 3 seconds before Master Chief realized his mistake. The geometric structure, older than human civilization, composed of materials that defied analysis, floated in the cargo bay of the UNSC frigate forward unto Dawn's recovered section. Chief had been running diagnostics, searching for answers about the device's purpose, when symbols began cascading across its surfaces in patterns that hurt to perceive directly. "Chief, I'm detecting massive energy buildup." Cortana's voice crackled in his helmet, distorted by interference. "This isn't like any slip space signature I've..." The artifact screamed. Not sound, something that bypassed ears entirely and resonated in the bones, in reality itself. Space folded. The cargo bay twisted, the dimensions compressing and expanding simultaneously in ways that violated physics. Chief's last conscious thought as the vortex swallowed him was tactical. Assess the situation, adapt, survive. Then nothing. Budapest, Hungary, night, present day. Master Chief regained consciousness in 4 seconds. His training took over before full awareness returned. Threat assessment, environmental scan, tactical positioning. The MJOLNIR armor systems reported full functionality. Shields at 100%, fusion reactor stable, motion tracker active, HUD operational. Armor integrity, green across all sectors. He was in an alley, narrow, cobblestoned, reeking of refuse and something else. Copper and decay, mixed with rain-soaked brick. Architecture suggested European, possibly Eastern. No UNSC signatures, no Covenant signatures. No signals at all except scattered civilian electronics operating on primitive frequencies. Cortana, report. Silence. Cortana, respond. His HUD flickered. Then her avatar appeared, but wrong. Fragmented, struggling. I'm here, Chief. But I can't connect to anything. No satellites, no UNSC networks, no nav beacons. It's like they don't exist. We're completely dark. Before Chief could respond, his motion tracker lit up. Multiple contacts. Fast, impossibly fast. The signatures moved at speeds that suggested vehicles. But the gate pattern read as bipedal. 4 contacts approaching from the alley's far end, 2 more dropping from rooftops behind him with impossible grace. Chief's hand went to his MA-5D assault rifle, mag-locked to his back. The weapon came up smooth, targeting reticle, tracking the nearest signature. His thumb flicked the safety off with practiced efficiency. What emerged from the shadows stopped being human halfway through the transformation. The creature had been a man. Chief saw the torn clothing, the human facial structure beneath the elongating snout. But flesh rippled like water, bones cracking and reforming with sounds like gunfire. Muscles expanded, doubled, tripled in mass. Fur erupted across skin. Hands became claws the length of combat knives. The thing rose to nearly 8 feet, hunched but radiating feral power. A Lycan. Though Chief had no context for the word, his tactical analysis registered the threat. Extreme close-quarters danger, enhanced strength, probable regenerative capability based on the transformation's biological impossibility. Target identified, Chief said calmly. Unknown hostile, preparing to engage. Chief, behind you! The motion tracker showed them before Chief turned. 6 figures in black leather, moving with fluid precision that reminded him of Sangheili warriors. But these were human-shaped, pale, eyes that reflected light like a cat's. The lead figure, female, dark hair, aristocratic features, held a modified pistol that Chief's threat analysis tagged as primitive but functional. Celine, death dealer, vampire. Though she had no way of knowing the armored figure's nature, her centuries of combat experience recognized one truth immediately. This was a predator. "Stand down," she commanded, voice cold and accented. "That Lycan is our prey." Chief's targeting reticle didn't waver from the transformed werewolf. His tactical assessment took microseconds. 3 potential hostiles, unclear allegiance, underarmed but with inferior technology. The transformed creature registered as the immediate threat. It was already charging, claws extended, moving with speed that would have overwhelmed an unaugmented human. Master Chief wasn't unaugmented. The Lycan covered 15 meters in under 2 seconds. Chief's reflexes, Spartan 2 augmented, multiplied by MJOLNIR's neural interface, tracked the movement perfectly. He sidestepped at the last millisecond, the creature's claws scraping across his energy shields with a sound like tearing metal. The shields flared blue-white, absorbing the kinetic impact that would have ripped through steel. The Lycan stumbled, confused. Nothing survived that strike. Nothing just walked away. Chief didn't give it time to adapt. His armored fist, backed by enhanced muscle and 1,000 pounds of MJOLNIR, slammed into the Lycan's jaw with a sound like a car crash. Bone shattered. The creature flew backward into a brick wall with enough force to crater the ancient masonry. Celine's eyes widened fractionally, the only outward sign of her shock. She'd seen Lycans take punishment that would kill elephants. She'd never seen one hit so hard it went through a wall. The other death dealers opened fire, suppressed pistols coughing silver nitrate rounds. Chief's shields flared as the rounds impacted, draining power by incremental percentages. His HUD displayed shield strength, 87%. The projectiles were primitive, subsonic, but their chemical composition registered as unknown and potentially corrosive. Warning: shield integrity compromised by unknown compound, Cortana reported. Recommend maintaining distance. Chief had already moved. His combat doctrine against unknown enemies was simple: establish superiority, force tactical reassessment, extract information. The MA-5D came up, his targeting reticle painting 3 death dealers in rapid succession. His finger tightened on the trigger. The 3-round burst caught the nearest vampire center mass. At this range, 7 meters, the 7.62mm rounds hit with devastating precision. The vampire's leather coat meant nothing. The rounds punched through ribs, shredded heart and lungs, and exploded out the back in sprays of dark blood. The vampire dropped, didn't get back up. Celine moved, not retreating, attacking. She crossed the distance between them in a blur that Chief's motion tracker barely registered, her speed pushing the limits of what even MJOLNIR's systems could track. Her pistol came up, aimed not at his armored chest, but at the vulnerable joints: knee, elbow, neck seal. Chief's tactical assessment elevated her threat level to maximum. This one had actual combat training. He blocked her strike with his forearm, the impact of vampire strength against MJOLNIR plating creating a metallic clang that echoed through the alley. Celine's eyes met his faceplate, her enhanced vision seeing only her own reflection in the gold-tinted visor. No fear, no hesitation, just cold calculation. "What are you?" she demanded. Chief's response was tactical, not verbal. His other hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with enough force to crush human bone. Selena felt the pressure, felt strength that matched her own supernatural power, and then for the first time in centuries experienced something she'd almost forgotten: uncertainty. Behind them, the Lycan was rising, jaw healing, bones reforming, rage overriding pain. It charged again, but this time, the other death dealers had repositioned. Crossfire. The Lycan, Chief, and Selene formed a triangle of mutual threat. Master Chief made his decision in the space between heartbeats. He released Selene, his shields recharging to 94%, and turned to face the charging Lycan. The MA-5 barked again. Controlled bursts, center mass, headshots. The Lycan's regeneration was impressive. Chief's marksmanship was better. The creature collapsed mid-charge, brain matter painting the cobblestones, body twitching as regeneration tried and failed to repair catastrophic cranial trauma. Silence fell over the alley. 6 vampires. 1 armored figure, corpses at everyone's feet. Selene lowered her weapon fractionally. Not submission, but tactical reassessment. She'd hunted Lycans for 600 years. She'd fought Marcus Corvinus and survived. But this was something new. Something that fought with technology she couldn't comprehend, and killed with efficiency that chilled even her cold blood. "You're not human," she said. Statement, not question. Chief's reply was flat, emotionless, the voice of a soldier giving a status report. "I need information. Where am I? What year is this? How do I establish communications with UNSC command?" The death dealers exchanged glances. UNSC. The acronym meant nothing. The armor meant everything. Selena holstered her pistol, slowly, deliberately, showing no fear despite every instinct screaming that this encounter could go very wrong. "And you're in Budapest. The year is 2012. I don't know what UNSC means. And if you're asking those questions, you're a long way from wherever you think you should be." Chief's motion tracker showed more contacts approaching. Many more. The gunfire had attracted attention. "Incoming hostiles," Cortana warned. 15 signatures, multiple vectors. Recommend tactical withdrawal. Chief looked at Selene. Selene looked at Chief. 2 apex predators, each recognizing the other as potentially useful or potentially lethal. "We need to move," Selene said. "Unless you want to explain to the entire Eastern Coven why you just killed their death dealers and a Lycan on their territory." Chief's tactical assessment was simple. Insufficient intelligence, unknown environment, no resupply, no backup. Engagement with superior numbers would deplete ammunition and damage armor with no means of repair. He lowered his rifle. "Lead." Selene turned without another word, moving through the shadows with practiced ease. The surviving death dealers followed, casting nervous glances at the armored giant who fell into formation behind them. His footsteps were silent despite the armor, Spartan training making even a half-ton of MJOLNIR move with predatory quiet. As they disappeared into Budapest's gothic underbelly, neither Chief nor Selene noticed the surveillance camera in the alley's corner. A camera connected not to police networks, but to something else entirely. Something corporate. Something that had just recorded footage of technology that shouldn't exist in this world. In a laboratory 300 kilometers away, Dr. Jacob Lane of Antigen Corporation watched the replay for the 3rd time. His smile widened. "Get me a full team," he said softly. "I want that armor. I want whoever's inside it. And I want to know how they made a human strong enough to kill a Lycan with one punch." The Shadow War had a new player, and none of them, not the vampires, not the Lycans, not the humans, understood that Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 had never lost a war. He wasn't about to start now. If you want to see more crossover battles and unexpected universe collisions, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and universe you'd want to see in the comments below. Let's explore the infinite together. The safe house was a relic of old Budapest, a converted monastery buried 3 levels beneath the city's modern streets, accessible only through passages that predated the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Stone walls 2 meters thick, no windows, no cell signal, no surveillance, except what the vampires controlled. For 600 years, this place had been sanctuary. Master Chief's presence made it feel like a tomb. He stood in the center of the vaulted chamber, motionless, assault rifle maglocked to his back, scanning the room with methodical precision. His motion tracker painted 17 signatures, Celine and her team, plus others who'd emerged from deeper sections of the compound. None had approached within 5 meters. They circled him like wolves studying something that had wandered into their territory, something that didn't belong, but couldn't be easily removed. Celine leaned against a stone column, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She'd sent the other death dealers to perimeter positions, partly for security, partly because she wanted to observe this armored stranger without interference. 6 centuries of predatory instinct told her this conversation would determine whether she'd made an ally or invited death into their stronghold. "Cortana," Chief said quietly, his external speakers off. Communication limited to his helmet's internal systems. Analysis. The AI's avatar flickered on his HUD, her expression troubled. Architecture suggests 16th or 17th century construction. Air quality indicates underground location, probably 10 to 15 meters below street level. Those contacts you're reading? Their body temperatures are running 15 to 20 degrees below human normal. Heart rates are slow, 30 to 40 beats per minute. And Chief, I'm not detecting any electronic signatures. No phones, no computers, no modern technology at all except some primitive electrical lighting. Assessment? Either we've been transported to some kind of historical preservation society, or... Cortana paused, her algorithms running scenarios that violated known science. Or those contacts aren't human, at least not baseline human. Chief had already reached the same conclusion. The pale woman who'd matched his strength. The creature that had transformed from human to beast. The impossible speed. The lack of UNSC presence, familiar technology, or even recognizable military protocols. He was in a world that operated by different rules. The question was, what rules? Celine pushed off the column and approached. Slowly, hands visible, moving with the deliberate body language of someone who understood that sudden movements near armed soldiers ended badly. She stopped exactly 5 meters away. Close enough to talk, far enough to react if he proved hostile. "You have questions," she said. "So do I. I'll trade answers if you will." Chief's helmet turned toward her, the golden visor reflecting torchlight. For a moment, Celine wondered if there was actually a person inside the armor, or if this was some kind of autonomous war machine. Then he spoke, and she heard something unexpected beneath the flat, emotionless tone. Curiosity. What were those creatures in the alley? The transformed one was a Lycan, werewolf, if you prefer the folklore term. The ones who were hunting it, my people, are vampires. She said it without drama, without embellishment. Statement of fact. We've been at war for centuries. Lycans were our slaves once. They freed themselves. Now we kill each other in the shadows, while your kind, humans, remain oblivious. Chief processed this. Vampires, werewolves, supernatural creatures that violated biological possibility, but clearly existed because he'd just fought them. His tactical training didn't waste time on disbelief. If the enemy had capabilities that seemed impossible, you adapted your doctrine accordingly. Your turn, Celine said. What are you? That armor isn't human military. I've seen every special forces unit on this planet. None of them have energy shields or strength that matches a Lycan. Spartan 2, United Nations Space Command. Serial number 117. Chief's response was automatic. Name, rank, serial number, the basics of military identification. Then he added something that made Seleni's eyes narrow. I'm from Earth, but not this Earth. The statement hung in the cold air. Selene had lived through 6 centuries of impossible things. She'd watched friends die and come back as monsters. She'd killed the vampire elder who'd murdered her family. She'd drunk blood from hybrids and gained powers that defied biology. But alternate dimensions, parallel worlds. Explain, she said flatly. Chief gave her the tactical brief. Forerunner artifact, unknown energy signature, dimensional displacement, no contact with UNSC command structure. Current mission status unclear. He left out classified details about the Covenant War, the Halos, and Cortana's nature. Operational security, even in unknown territory. Selene listened without interruption. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment, her centuries-old mind working through implications that would have overwhelmed a younger vampire. So you're a soldier, she said finally. Engineered to fight a war against alien invaders in your world. And something brought you here, to a world where the wars are between species that evolved on the same planet. She tilted her head, studying him. What's your mission now? No command structure, no way home. No enemy except the ones you stumbled into in that alley. It was the question Chief had been avoiding since he'd regained consciousness. For 40 years, he'd had orders. Protect humanity, destroy the Covenant, complete the mission. Even when the missions were suicide runs, even when every tactical analysis said he couldn't win, he'd had a purpose. Now, survive, he said. Gather intelligence, find a way back. And if you can't get back? Chief didn't answer. The silence was answer enough. Selene nodded slowly, something like understanding crossing her features. You're a weapon without a war. I know that feeling. She moved to a nearby table where ancient maps of Budapest competed for space with modern satellite imagery, one of the few concessions to current technology. The Lycan you killed in the alley was part of a pack that's been hunting in the 6th District. They've gotten bold since Victor's death, since the old power structures collapsed. My people want me to hunt them, to restore order. Victor? An elder, one of the first vampires. He ruled our coven for centuries through fear and control. Selena's voice held no emotion, but Chief detected the subtle tension in her shoulders, the slight tightening of her jaw. I killed him 3 months ago when I discovered he'd murdered my family to cover up his crimes. Chief's tactical assessment of Selene shifted. Not just a soldier who'd killed her own commanding officer for moral reasons. He understood that kind of loyalty, not to institutions, but to principles. The Eastern Coven doesn't know what to make of me now, Selene continued. I'm a hybrid, vampire and Lycan bloodlines mixed. I'm stronger than any pure-blood vampire, immune to our traditional weaknesses. But I'm also proof that everything they believed about blood purity was a lie. Some want me dead. Some want to study me. Some want to use me. She turned to face him directly. You walked into a civil war, Spartan. 3 factions, all of them desperate, all of them dangerous. The vampires want to maintain their dominance, but they're fractured without Victor's iron fist. The Lycans want freedom, but they're divided between those who seek peace and those who want revenge. And the humans. She paused, her expression darkening. There are humans who know about us now. Corporations, government agencies, military contractors. They're hunting both species, trying to weaponize our biology. Chief's HUD lit up as Cortana pulled up the tactical implications. Chief, This is a three-way conflict with no clear command structure and civilians caught in the crossfire. Standard UNSC protocol would be to extract non-combatants and establish secure zones. But without backup. Without backup, that's impossible, Chief finished. He looked at Celine. Why tell me this? Why bring me here instead of killing me in the alley? Celine's smile was cold and sharp. Because when I grabbed your arm, I felt strength that matched my hybrid power. Because you killed a Lycan with one punch and a vampire with 3 bullets. Because you have technology I've never seen and combat training that makes you more dangerous than most of the immortals in this city. She stepped closer, into the 4-meter range, her voice dropping. And because I'm tired of fighting wars started by creatures who think they're gods. If you want to survive in this world, you'll need allies who know its rules. If I want to change this world, I need someone who isn't bound by 6 centuries of grudges and territorial politics. You're asking me to choose a side. I'm asking you to choose whether you want to be hunted by 3 factions at once, or work with someone who can help you navigate the board until you figure out how to get home. Celine gestured to the safe house around them. This place is off the grid. No coven surveillance, no Lycan spies, no human detection. You can resupply here, plan here, operate here. In exchange, you help me with a problem. Chief's tactical instincts triggered warnings. Alliance with unknown faction, insufficient intelligence, no verification of motives. But his ammunition counter showed 384 rounds remaining for the MA5D, no spare magazines, and no way to manufacture more. His armor's diagnostics showed minor damage to the shield emitters from the silver nitrate rounds, damage that would accumulate without proper maintenance facilities. What problem? He asked. Before Celine could answer, Chief's motion tracker lit up red. New contacts, dozens of them, surrounding the safe house from multiple entry points, moving with coordinated precision that suggested military training. Cortana? I'm reading 70+ signatures, Chief. They're not moving like the vampires or Lycans we saw earlier. This is a military formation, automated entry protocol. And I'm picking up electronic signatures now, radios, tactical gear, some kind of scanning equipment I've never seen before. Celine had gone perfectly still, her head tilted, listening to sounds Chief's helmet couldn't yet detect. Antigen, she hissed. Zor, they found us. Impossible. This location is protected by layers of security they couldn't have penetrated unless... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Someone had sold them out. Chief's rifle was in his hands before Celine finished speaking, his shields charging to full, his HUD painting target priorities across 3-dimensional space. 70 hostiles, unknown capabilities, limited ammunition, no backup, no extraction, standard Tuesday for a Spartan. Multiple entry points. Cortana reported, her voice tight. Chief, they're not trying to breach. They're flooding the zone with some kind of gas. Scanning. I'm reading chemical composition similar to anesthetic compounds, but modified. Molecular structure suggests it's designed for non-human biology. Celine's eyes widened fractionally. They're using vampire-specific sedatives. We have maybe 30 seconds before this entire safe house is compromised. Chief moved to the nearest entry point, a heavy wooden door that had survived 600 years of vampire paranoia. His motion tracker showed 12 signatures beyond it, positioned in tactical formation, preparing to breach. You have a back exit? He asked. 3. All of them will be covered by now. Then we go through. Selena stared at him. Through 70 trained soldiers with specialized anti-vampire weapons? Chief's response was flat, emotionless, the voice of a Spartan who'd faced worse odds and survived. Yes. For the first time in 6 centuries, Selene felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. Not because she thought they could win, but because this armored stranger spoke about impossible odds the way she used to, before centuries of cynicism wore her down. "The main entry is our best option," she said, falling into tactical mode. "Narrow corridor forces them to funnel, limits their numerical advantage." Agreed. Chief moved toward the main door, his rifle tracking with mechanical precision. "Stay behind my shields. When I breach, you follow and eliminate any targets that flank us. We push through fast, establish a perimeter outside, then reassess." Selene drew both pistols, modified Berettas loaded with silver nitrate rounds. "You give orders like someone used to being obeyed. I give orders like someone used to surviving." The door exploded inward, not from Chief's breach, from the other side. Flashbangs detonated, and filling the chamber with light and sound. Chief's helmet automatically compensated, filters engaging, but Selene screamed, vampire senses overwhelmed by sensory overload. They came through fast, 12 soldiers in tactical gear, gas masks, carrying weapons that looked like modified assault rifles with underslung grenade launchers. They moved with professional efficiency, establishing a perimeter, securing angles of fire. They made one critical mistake. They expected vampires. Master Chief's shields flared as automatic weapons fire raked across them, rounds designed to penetrate vampire flesh, nearly useless against energy barriers. His return fire was precise, economical, devastating. 3-round bursts, center mass, headshots. The soldiers had body armor rated for Vampire and Lycan attacks, and it wasn't rated for 7.62mm rounds, fired from a weapon that stabilized on target through a neural interface linked to a superhuman soldier's reflexes. 3 soldiers dropped in the first 2 seconds. The others dove for cover, training overriding shock, adapting to an enemy that shouldn't exist. "Contact right," Cortana warned. Chief pivoted, his enhanced reaction time turning what should have been a flanking maneuver into a fatal mistake for the soldier trying it. The man's rifle came up. Chief's came up faster. Single shot. The soldier went down. Behind him, Selene recovered from the flashbang, her hybrid physiology burning through the sensory overload. She moved like liquid death, pistols tracking, firing, every shot precise. Silver nitrate rounds punched through gas masks, through body armor, through flesh. The soldiers had trained to fight vampires. They'd never trained to fight a hybrid moving at full speed. The corridor became a kill box. Chief advanced, shields absorbing fire, rifle barking controlled bursts. Selene flowed around him, exploiting the gaps his advance created, her centuries of combat experience syncing with his tactical doctrine in a way that surprised them both. 30 seconds. 12 soldiers neutralized. 0 casualties. Chief emerged into the underground parking structure that served as the safe house's primary entry point. His motion tracker lit up like a Christmas tree. 60 contacts, surrounding them in a 360-degree perimeter, elevated positions, interlocking fields of fire. Professional setup. Whoever commanded this operation knew what they were doing. "This is your last warning." A voice boomed through loudspeakers, amplified and distorted. "Surrender the hybrid and the unknown combatant. You are surrounded. There is no escape." Chief's tactical analysis took milliseconds. Ammunition at 312 rounds, shields at 78% and recharging, 1 ally of unknown reliability, 60+ hostiles with unknown capabilities, no backup, no extraction, no support. He'd faced worse at Reach, on Installation 04, during the flood outbreak, against the Covenant's best. But always before, he'd had something these soldiers didn't, a mission worth dying for. Now, he was a weapon without a war, a soldier without orders, a Spartan without humanity to protect. Except, his helmet turned towards Celine. She stood beside him, blood on her coat, silver nitrate rounds glowing faintly in her modified pistols, breathing hard but ready. A warrior who'd killed her own commanding officer because he'd murdered innocents. Someone who fought not for territory or power, but because she'd chosen to believe things could be better. Maybe he didn't need orders from the UNSC. Maybe surviving didn't mean finding a way home. Maybe, just this once, the mission was standing right beside him. Spartans don't surrender, Chief said quietly. Celine's smile was sharp and feral. Neither do death dealers. Chief's shields hit full charge with a sound like a power cell cycling. His rifle came up. His targeting reticle painted 6 threats simultaneously. Then we go through. The parking structure erupted in gunfire as Master Chief did what he'd been designed to do since he was 6 years old. Win battles that couldn't be won, and survive situations that should have killed him, and prove that one Spartan was worth an army. The soldiers of Antigen Corporation were about to learn why the Covenant had feared the demons in green armor. And somewhere in the shadows of Budapest, ancient vampires and savage Lycans felt the balance of their eternal war shift as a warrior from another world chose his side. Not with the monsters who thought they were gods, but with the one who'd stopped believing in gods and started believing in something harder. Choice. The parking structure's concrete pillars exploded under sustained fire. Chief moved through the chaos like a ghost, his MJOLNIR armor's active camouflage flickering at the edges of his shields as he darted between cover points. The Antigen soldiers had numbers, positioning, and home field advantage. Master Chief had 40 years of experience turning advantages into liabilities. Cortana, tactical overlay. His HUD lit up with threat assessments, firing solutions, and movement predictions. 63 hostiles. Cortana had revised the count upward, arranged in a textbook military encirclement. Elevated positions on the parking structure's upper levels, interlocking fields of fire. Support weapons covering the exits. Whoever planned this knew how to trap supernatural predators. They hadn't planned for a Spartan. Chief's motion tracker pinged. 3 soldiers advancing on his position from the left flank, using a damaged SUV for cover. Standard bounding overwatch. Good tactics. Predictable tactics. He didn't wait for them to establish position. His rifle came up, and he fired through the SUV's engine block. 7.62 millimeter rounds punching through steel, through the engine, through the cover the soldiers thought was solid. The lead soldier dropped. The other 2 scattered, their formation broken. Celine materialized from the shadows to Chief's right, moving with speed that made her nearly invisible to human eyes. She'd flanked wide, using the parking structure's support columns to break line of sight. And now she was among the Antigen soldiers like a wolf among sheep. Her pistols barked, silver nitrate rounds designed for vampires, devastating against unarmored humans. 3 soldiers went down before they could adjust their aim. Chief, upper level. Cortana's warning came with a targeting highlight on his HUD. Chief looked up and saw it. A soldier with a weapon that definitely wasn't standard military issue. The barrel was too wide, the power pack too large, and Chief's threat assessment system was screaming warnings about electromagnetic signatures building to discharge. EMP weapon, designed to disable vampire technology, the limited electronics their kind used. Against MJOLNIR armor? Chief didn't wait to find out. He grabbed a piece of concrete rubble, 50 kilograms, nothing to Spartan strength, and hurled it with the precision of a grenade toss. The concrete sailed 20 meters up and hit the soldier dead center. The man flew backward, and the EMP weapon discharging harmlessly into the ceiling. But the tactic revealed something important. Antigen knew about energy shields. They'd come prepared with countermeasures. "They've done their homework," Cortana observed. "That armor, those weapons. This isn't a hastily organized raid. They've been planning this." Chief's tactical assessment agreed. The soldiers moved with too much coordination, carried too much specialized gear. This was a hunting party that had been tracking Celine, waiting for the right moment. His arrival had forced their hand. A grenade bounced off a concrete pillar near Chief's position, not fragmentation, but something that hissed and released a thick, purple-tinged gas. Chief's environmental sensors screamed warnings. "Chemical agent detected. Molecular composition unknown. Recommend immediate..." Chief was already moving, his shields flaring as he burst through the gas cloud. The compound scorched against his armor's exterior, leaving dark stains on the olive drab plating, but the suit's environmental seals held. Whatever that gas was designed to do to vampires, MJOLNIR armor had been built to survive exposure to flood spores and Covenant plasma, a different class of threat entirely. He emerged from the gas cloud directly into a 3-man fire team. Their eyes widened behind gas masks. They'd expected a vampire stumbling, choking, dying. They got a 7-foot armored titan who grabbed the nearest soldier by his tactical vest and used him as a battering ram against his 2 companions. The impact sounded like a car accident. All 3 went down and didn't get up. Chief's ammunition counter read 267 rounds. He was burning through magazines faster than he wanted, but controlled aggression was the only doctrine that worked when outnumbered. Let them react to you. Force mistakes. Exploit the gaps. Celine reappeared at his 6 o'clock, her coat shredded by near misses, a cut across her cheek already healing. "They're trying to channel us toward the east exit," she said, breathing hard but still combat effective. "Classic trap. Push us into a kill zone where they've got heavier weapons waiting. Then we go west. West is a solid concrete wall." Chief looked at the wall in question. Reinforced concrete, probably half a meter thick, built to support the structure above, designed to be permanent. He looked at his shields, currently at 64% and climbing. He looked at his armor's power supply, fusion reactor running at 87% efficiency, must good for another 5 years of continuous operation. He looked back at Celine. Not for long. Understanding dawned in her eyes. "You're insane. I'm a Spartan." Chief charged the wall at full sprint, MJOLNIR armor and Spartan muscle combining into half a ton of kinetic energy moving at 40 kilometers per hour. His shields flared brilliant blue as he lowered his shoulder and hit the concrete like a human-shaped missile. The wall exploded. Not crumbled, not cracked. Exploded. Concrete and rebar shattered outward in a shower of debris as Chief smashed through into the adjacent structure, an abandoned warehouse that shared the parking garage's foundation. He stumbled, his shields dropping to 31%, his HUD flashing warnings about impact stress on the armor's undersuit. But he was through, and behind him, Celine vaulted through the Chief-shaped hole with a laugh that sounded genuinely delighted. "In 600 years, I've never seen anyone do that," she said. "Stick with me. You'll see a lot of things you've never seen." Behind them, the antigen soldiers scrambled to adjust. Shouted orders, repositioning, the sound of reinforcements moving to cut off their escape. Chief's motion tracker showed the net tightening, but slower now, confused, their perfect ambush turned into a running firefight. The warehouse was a maze of old shipping containers and industrial equipment, all coated in decades of dust and rust. Perfect urban warfare terrain. Chief moved through it like he'd trained there his whole life. Because in a sense, he had. Every UNSC facility, every combat drill, every mission had been preparation for exactly this. Outnumbered. You outgunned, out of options, except the ones you made yourself. Cortana, building schematic. Working on it. I'm pulling data from architectural resonance patterns and structural analysis. Best guess. This warehouse connects to the Budapest underground transit system 3 levels down. If we can reach it, we can lose them in the tunnels. 3 levels down means going through floors. I noticed you have experience with that. Chief almost smiled. Almost. His motion tracker pinged. 6 signatures entering the warehouse from the hole he'd made, moving in a tactical wedge. More signatures converging from the building's other entrances. They were herding him again, trying to box him into a position where numbers could overcome his technological advantage. He needed to change the equation. Celine, can you draw them into a pursuit pattern? She understood immediately. Make myself a target. Lead them into a kill zone of your choosing. She studied him for a moment, those ancient eyes reading tactical intent the way a hunter reads tracks. You fight like you've done this 1,000 times. More than 1,000. She nodded once, then vanished into the shadows with speed that made Chief's motion tracker struggle to maintain lock. Seconds later, he heard gunfire, shouting, and the distinctive sound of Celine's voice taunting the soldiers in Hungarian. The antigen forces took the bait. 20 signatures shifted from encirclement pattern to pursuit, chasing the hybrid through the warehouse's maze. They moved past Chief's position. He'd activated his active camouflage, the experimental system bending light around his armor, rendering him nearly invisible in the warehouse's gloom. The soldiers never saw him waiting. Chief hit them from behind with the precision of a surgical strike. 3-round bursts, target prioritization, threat elimination. The rearmost soldier dropped. Then the next. Then the next. By the time the fire team realized they were being attacked from behind, half their number was down. They tried to regroup. Chief didn't let them. He charged into their formation, shields absorbing their panicked fire, using MJOLNIR's mass and his enhanced strength to turn the close quarters into an advantage. A rifle butt to one soldier's head, the man's helmet cracked and he crumpled. An elbow strike to another's throat, the soldier went down choking. A combat knife against a third. The blade punched through the gap between body armor plates with the precision of someone who'd done this so many times. It was muscle memory. Celine emerged from the shadows to finish the survivors, her pistol speaking with cold efficiency. When the last soldier fell, she looked at Chief with something approaching respect. The vampires have a saying, age and treachery overcome youth and skill. You're not old by our standards, but you fight like you've been at war since before I was turned. Close enough. His ammunition counter read 198 rounds, shields at 52%, no armor damage beyond cosmetic scoring from the chemical weapons. Still combat effective, but burning resources with no way to replace them. They needed to end this. Fast. Cortana, that transit access? 50 meters northeast, or through what used to be the warehouse's administrative section. But Chief, I'm picking up a new signature, different from the soldiers, bigger, and the electromagnetic profile is weird. It's reading like some kind of heavy weapons platform. But the power signature doesn't match any UNSC or Covenant system I've seen. Chief's threat assessment elevated to maximum. Unknown weapons platform meant unknown capabilities. In his experience, unknown usually meant dangerous. They moved toward the administrative section, Chief taking point, Celine covering their six. The warehouse grew quieter. The antigen soldiers had pulled back, regrouping after getting bloodied in close quarters. Professional discipline. They weren't routing, they were adapting. The administrative section was a maze of offices and corridors, all of it rotting from decades of abandonment. Chief's motion tracker painted the path to the transit access. Through a central corridor, down a stairwell, through a maintenance tunnel. But between them and that corridor stood the unknown signature. Chief rounded the corner and saw it. Not a weapons platform. A person. 7 feet tall, massively built, wearing tactical gear that strained against muscles that shouldn't be possible on a human frame. The figure's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Not vampire red, not Lycan yellow, but something artificial. Cybernetic implants gleaming beneath scarred skin. Celine hissed. Hybrid. Antigen's been experimenting with vampire and Lycan blood, trying to create controllable supersoldiers. I thought they'd failed. The hybrid smiled, and in its teeth were a nightmare. Vampire fangs mixed with Lycan tusks, set in jaws that could crush steel. When it spoke, the voice was distorted, barely human. The vampire Lycan hybrid and the metal man. Dr. Lane sends his regards. He wants you both alive. The hybrid cracked its knuckles, bones popping like gunshots. But he didn't say undamaged. Chief's tactical assessment was instant and brutal. Enhanced strength beyond vampire or Lycan standard, probable regeneration, unknown pain tolerance, cybernetic augmentation of unknown capability. Threat level, extreme. His rifle came up. The hybrid moved. Fast. Faster than the vampires. Faster than the Lycans. Faster than Chief's motion tracker could paint a clean targeting solution. The creature closed 20 meters in under a second. It was its fist driving toward Chief's helmet with enough force to shatter concrete. Chief's shields flared, absorbing the impact with a sound like a thunderclap. The kinetic force drove him backward 3 meters, his boots carving furrows in the concrete floor. His HUD flashed warnings, shields down to 12%, emergency recharge protocols engaging. One hit. One goddamn hit had nearly stripped his shields completely. The hybrid didn't give him time to recover. It charged again, moving with the berserker rage of a Lycan and the calculated precision of a vampire. Chief dodged, barely, the creature's clawed hand missing his faceplate by centimeters. He brought his rifle up point blank and fired a full burst into the hybrid's torso. The rounds punched through flesh, through muscle, through organs. The hybrid stumbled, then it laughed, so Chief watched in grim fascination as the wounds closed, flesh knitting back together with speed that surpassed even the Lycans he'd seen. The creature's regeneration was operating on a different level entirely. Not just healing, but combat functional healing. No downtime, no recovery period, just constant, immediate restoration. This was going to be a problem. Celine opened fire from the hybrid's flank, silver nitrate rounds punching into its side. The creature howled. The silver burned, interfered with regeneration, created wounds that healed slower, but not slow enough. The hybrid turned toward her with murder in its glowing eyes. Chief made his decision in the space between heartbeats. He dropped his rifle, letting it mag-lock to his back, and charged. Not at the hybrid, at the wall beside it. His armored shoulder hit the structural support column with calculated force, and physics did what bullets couldn't. The column cracked, the ceiling groaned, and 3 tons of concrete and steel supports came down on the hybrid's head. The creature vanished under the rubble with a sound like the end of the world. Dust filled the corridor. Alarms started blaring, and somewhere in the building's depths, stressed metal began to scream. "Chief, the entire structure is compromised," Cortana warned. That column was load-bearing. We've got maybe 90 seconds before this whole section collapses. Selene stared at the rubble pile, then at Chief. Did you just bring down a building to kill one hybrid? No, Chief said, already moving toward the transit access. I brought down a building to buy us time. That won't kill it. But it'll slow it down. They ran. Behind them, concrete continued to collapse, and somewhere in the rubble, Chief's motion tracker registered movement. The hybrid was already digging itself out, but they'd reached the stairwell, down 3 levels, into darkness that smelled of stagnant water and old earth. The transit tunnel system spread out before them, a maze of abandoned passages that predated World War II, known only to the Vampires and Lycans who'd used them for decades as hidden highways beneath the city. Chief's shields recharged to 67%. His ammunition counter read 147 rounds. Armor integrity, 94%. Combat effectiveness, nominal. Behind them, in the collapsing warehouse, antigen soldiers regrouped and the hybrid roared its fury to the Budapest night. Ahead of them, in the darkness of the old tunnels, salvation or damnation waited with equal patience. Selene looked at Chief, this armored stranger who destroyed walls, killed soldiers, and collapsed buildings in the span of 10 minutes. You said you were a weapon without a war. I think you found one anyway. Chief's response was quiet, almost thoughtful. Wars find soldiers, not the other way around. They disappeared into the tunnels as the warehouse gave its final groan and surrendered to gravity. Above them, Dr. Jacob Lane watched the satellite feed and smiled despite the setback. The metal man had just proven he was worth any price to acquire. The hunt had only begun. The transit tunnels beneath Budapest smelled like history, limestone and moisture, old iron and older fear. Chief's helmet lights cut through absolute darkness, painting ancient brick walls covered in decades of grime and the occasional splash of graffiti that predated the Cold War. His motion tracker showed clear for 300 meters in all directions. They'd lost the pursuit, for now. Selene moved beside him with perfect confidence despite the darkness, her vampire eyes reading the tunnels like daylight. She navigated without hesitation, taking turns at intersections Chief couldn't distinguish from dead ends, following a mental map built over centuries of using these passages. The Eastern Coven has 14 safe houses in Budapest, she said, her voice echoing strangely in the confined space. Antigen knew about the monastery. That means they either tortured the information from a captured vampire or someone sold you out, Chief finished. Selene's silence was confirmation enough. They walked in quiet for another 100 meters before Chief spoke again. You said the vampire leadership is fractured. Internal power struggle after Victor's death? Victor ruled through fear for 600 years. When I killed him, I didn't just eliminate a tyrant, I created a vacuum. Now every elder, every ambitious death dealer, every ancient vampire with a grudge and a plan thinks they can seize control. Selene's voice carried bitter experience. Some want to continue Victor's policies. Some want reform. Some want my head on a pike as a warning to anyone who thinks hierarchy can be challenged. Chief's tactical analysis recognized the pattern. Failed state dynamics, competing factions, no legitimate authority. He'd seen it before in the outer colonies during the insurrection, before the Covenant War unified humanity through existential threat. Which faction sold you to Antigen? That's the question, isn't it? Selene stopped at an intersection where 4 tunnels converged, her head tilted as she listened to sounds Chief's helmet couldn't detect. Could be the traditionalists who want me dead anyway. Could be the pragmatists who think selling a hybrid to humans might buy them leverage. Could be someone who doesn't care about vampire politics at all and just wanted the money antigen's offering for supernatural specimens. She turned to look at him, and in the harsh light of his helmet lamps, Chief saw something he recognized from 1,000 after-action debriefs. The exhaustion of a soldier who'd been fighting too long with too little support. "I've been running for 3 months," Celine said quietly. "Ever since I killed Victor. Ever since I became this." She gestured to herself. Hybrid, neither vampire nor Lycan, something that shouldn't exist. "The Lycans want to study me, maybe weaponize my blood. The vampires want to eliminate the evidence that their precious bloodline purity is a myth. And now humans know we exist, and they want to cage us, dissect us, turn us into weapons for their own wars." Chief understood. He'd been a weapon his entire life. Selected at 6, augmented at 14, deployed at 15. 40 years of being pointed at humanity's enemies and told to win. He'd never questioned it because the enemies had been real, the threat existential, the cause just. But what happened when the cause became murky? When the enemies were just people fighting for survival like everyone else? When the weapons started wondering if maybe the war itself was the problem? "You're thinking about joining me," Celine said, reading something in his posture the Chief hadn't realized he was broadcasting. "Helping me navigate this world until you find a way home. But you're wondering if that makes you complicit in a war you don't understand." "Yes." The honesty seemed to surprise her. Most people would lie, say they've already made up their mind, or they're just using me for information. I'm not most people, and lying to allies is tactically unsound. Celine's laugh was short and sharp. "Allies? Now, we've known each other for less than an hour, and half of that we've been running from humans who want to put us in cages." "I've worked with less," Chief said. And it was true. He'd coordinated with Covenant separatists during the Schism, with ODSTs who resented Spartans, with AI constructs going rampant. Combat built alliances faster than time ever could. His motion tracker pinged. Single contact approaching from the northern tunnel, moving slow, deliberate, no attempt at stealth. Chief's rifle came up automatically. Selena's pistols appeared in her hands, like magic. They positioned themselves on opposite sides of the tunnel, interlocking fields of fire, textbook ambush setup executed without need for verbal coordination. When the figure that emerged from the darkness made Chief revise every threat assessment he'd made since arriving in this world. It stood 8 feet tall. Not armor. This was biological height, a body that had been transformed into something that violated human proportion. Muscle layered on muscle, covered in thick fur that seemed to absorb Chief's helmet lights. The head was wolf-like, but wrong. Too intelligent, too calculating in the eyes that studied them with predatory focus. Claws like daggers, teeth like knives, power radiating from every movement. A Lycan, fully transformed. But unlike the one Chief had killed in the alley, this one moved with control, purpose, intelligence that suggested the human mind was still driving the monster. Selena's pistols didn't waver, but Chief heard the catch in her breath. Lucian. The Lycan's voice was a rumble that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Selene, still alive, still running, still refusing to choose a side in the war you helped restart. I didn't start anything. I ended Victor's tyranny. And in doing so, you destroyed the balance that kept our species from mutual annihilation. The Lycan, Lucian, turned his gaze to Chief, those yellow eyes studying the MJOLNIR armor with disturbing intensity. And now you've brought something new into our world. Something that doesn't belong. Chief kept his rifle trained center mass, but he was running tactical calculations. The creature was massive, probably 600 kilograms in transformed state. Speed comparable to vampires, strength exceeding them, regeneration that made conventional weapons nearly useless. Close quarters combat would be suicide. But the tunnel limited the Lycan's mobility while giving Chief's shields time to recharge between attacks. Winnable? Maybe. I mean, no threat to your people, Chief said, his voice flat and emotionless. I'm here by accident. My only goal is finding a way back to my world. Lucian's laugh was like boulders grinding together. Accident. You arrive in our world with armor that can withstand vampire and Lycan attacks, weapons that kill with precision we've never seen, and strength that matches our transformed state. You collapse a building to escape human hunters, and you call it accident? The Lycan took a step forward. Chief's targeting reticle tracked the movement, finger resting on the trigger with pounds of pressure already applied. One more step and he'd fire. Lucian stopped, reading the body language perfectly. Peace, Spartan. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make you an offer. We're not interested, Selene said. You should be. Lucian's gaze never left Chief. The Lycans know about antigen. We know they're capturing our kind, experimenting on them, trying to create controllable hybrids. We know they're working with certain vampire factions, the ones who think science can succeed where Victor's brutality failed. And we know that you, Metal Man, represent technology so far beyond this world's capability that whoever controls you controls the future of our war. I'm not a prize to be claimed. No, you're a soldier looking for a mission. Lucian shifted, and despite the monstrous form, Chief recognized the posture. A commander addressing a potential recruit. The Lycans were slaves to vampires for centuries. We freed ourselves through blood and sacrifice. But we're still hunted, still treated as monsters, still fighting for the simple right to exist. Antigen wants to enslave us again, this time in laboratory cages instead of vampire mansions. The vampires want us extinct, and humans fear what they don't understand. The Lycan gestured toward Selene. She tells you vampires and Lycans are equally guilty, that this is a war with no right side. She's wrong. Vampires built their society on our slavery. Victor murdered hundreds of our kind to maintain his power. The war began when they refused to see us as equals. Everything since has been consequence. Chief listened without response, his tactical mind noting that Lucian's rhetoric was practiced, refined through repetition. This wasn't the first time the Lycan leader had made this speech. Join us, Lucian continued. Help us end the vampire threat permanently. Your technology, your training, your strength combined with our numbers and regeneration, we could finish this war in months instead of centuries. Freedom for Lycans, safety from human exploitation. And for you, a purpose while you search for your way home. We would pay you in information, resources, protection, everything you need to survive in this world. It was a good pitch. Strategic sense, moral justification, practical benefits. The kind of offer that would appeal to a soldier trained to identify objectives and execute missions. Chief considered it for exactly 3 seconds before responding. No. Lucian's eyes narrowed. You refuse without negotiation. I refuse because your objective isn't freedom, it's genocide. You want to exterminate vampires, not coexist with them. That's not a mission. That's revenge dressed up as justice. The Lycan's growl filled the tunnel like an avalanche warning. You know nothing of what we've suffered. I know enough. Chief's voice remained flat, emotionless. But there was iron underneath. I know you're asking me to help kill an entire species because they committed atrocities against yours. I know that road. I've seen where it leads. The answer is no. Celine was staring at him like she'd never seen anything like him before. Maybe she hadn't. Lucian was silent for a long moment, and Chief's threat assessment calculated attack probabilities rising from 15% to 60% to 85%. His finger tightened on the trigger another fraction. Then the Lycan laughed, a sound with no humor in it. You're either the most principled soldier I've ever met, or the most naive. In this world, neutrality is a luxury no one can afford. Eventually, you'll have to choose. And when you do, you'll discover that all the choices are terrible. Maybe, but they'll be my choices. Lucian nodded slowly, something like respect in those predatory eyes. Fair enough, Spartan. I'll leave you with this. Antigen is preparing something big, a facility north of here in the Carpathian Mountains. They're gathering vampires, Lycans, anyone with supernatural blood. The hybrids they create there, like the one you fought, are just the beginning. If they succeed, they'll have an army that makes both our species obsolete. Why tell me this? Selena asked, suspicion sharp in her voice. Because whether you join us or not, whether you choose vampires or Lycans or neither, Antigen is everyone's enemy. They see us all as resources to exploit. And I suspect, Lucian's gaze returned to Chief, they see you as the greatest prize of all, technology that could change warfare itself. They won't stop hunting you. The Lycan turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The Antigen facility? It's being run by someone you might recognize, Celine. Dr. Jacob Lane, the man who helped Victor perfect the immortality strain, the man who experimented on your family before Victor killed them. Selena's reaction was instant, a sharp intake of breath, pistols raising, body tensing for violence. But Lucian was already moving, disappearing into the northern tunnel with speed that made Chief's motion trackers struggle to maintain lock. In seconds, they were alone again. Celine stood perfectly still, and Chief recognized the posture. Shock wearing off, rage building underneath. When she spoke, her voice was soft and deadly. Lane, that bastard is still alive, still experimenting on people. Victor used him, kept him secret, and when I killed Victor, I thought Lane died in the purge. But he didn't. He just changed employers. Chief lowered his rifle. The facility Lucian mentioned. You want to hit it? Yes. Because Lane is there? Or because the facility is a legitimate threat? Celine met his gaze, and Chief saw the honesty there. The kind of brutal self-awareness that came from 6 centuries of war. Both. Lane helped murder my family, helped Victor build his empire of torture and experimentation. I want him dead. But Lucian's right. If Antigen is mass-producing hybrids like the one we fought, they'll upset the balance completely. Vampires and Lycans will be obsolete. Humanity will hunt us to extinction using our own stolen abilities. She holstered one pistol and held out her hand. So, I'm asking you, Spartan, not as an ally who expects loyalty, but as a soldier who needs another soldier. Help me destroy that facility. Stop Antigen before they unleash something that makes our centuries of war look like a territorial dispute. In exchange, I'll help you search for whatever brought you here. Every resource I have, every contact I've made, every piece of vampire knowledge about dimensional anomalies or ancient artifacts. Chief looked at the offered hand, looked at Celine, saw a warrior who'd killed her own commanding officer for moral reasons, who refused to join either side of a tribal war, who wanted revenge but recognized it had to serve a larger purpose. He thought about the UNSC, about Dr. Halsey, about all the people who'd turned children into weapons because the cause was just and the threat was real. About the moment he'd had to decide whether following orders or following his conscience mattered more. Celine wasn't asking him to choose a side in the Vampire-Lycan war. She was asking him to stop humans from making the same mistakes the UNSC had made. Weaponizing people, treating them as resources, justifying atrocities through strategic necessity. Maybe that was a mission worth fighting for. Chief took her hand. The grip was firm, cold, and strong enough to crush human bone. His armored gauntlet met it with equal pressure. "One mission," he said. "We hit the facility, we stop the experiments, we get out. After that, we reassess." "One mission," Celine agreed. Above them, in the streets of Budapest, antigen operatives regrouped and planned their next move. In the Eastern Coven stronghold, vampire elders debated how to handle the hybrid and her armored ally. In the Lycan warrens, Lucian briefed his pack on the new variable in their ancient war. And in the Carpathian Mountains, Dr. Jacob Lane watched surveillance footage of Master Chief collapsing a building and smiled with the excitement of a scientist who just discovered something that would change everything. The Shadow War was about to go loud. The factions would have to adapt or die. And Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, weapon without a war, had just chosen his mission. Somewhere in the quantum foam between dimensions, a Forerunner artifact pulsed with energy, responding to choices made and battles fought. The device had brought Chief here for a reason. Soon, he'd understand why. The Eastern Coven's primary stronghold occupied the top 5 floors of a Gothic revival building in Budapest's castle district. All dark stone and pointed arches, the kind of architecture that whispered of old money and older secrets. To the human world, it was the headquarters of a private investment firm managing Eastern European assets. To the immortal world, it was the seat of vampire power in Hungary, Romania, and the Balkans. Master Chief stood on a rooftop 300 meters away, observing through his rifle's scope, his armor's active camouflage rendering him nearly invisible against the pre-dawn sky. His HUD painted thermal signatures through the building's windows, 17 contacts on the top floor alone, moving in patterns that suggested a meeting in progress. And that's the Council of Elders, Celine said from her position beside him. Invisible to human eyes, but clear as day on Chief's motion tracker. The ones who survived Victor's purge. They're debating what to do about us, specifically about you. Assessment? Mixed. Some want to capture you for study. Some want to destroy you as a threat to the masquerade, our secrecy from humans. Some want to recruit you. Celine's tone suggested what she thought of all 3 options. The one in the center, the woman with white hair, that's Amelia. She's been pushing for alliance with Antigen. Claims that vampires need to adapt to modern threats, that science and immortality together could secure our survival. Chief tracked the thermal signature Celine indicated. The figure moved with authority, gesturing as she spoke to the assembled vampires. Classic leadership posture. Confident, commanding, used to being obeyed. "She's the one who sold you out?" Chief said. Not a question. "Probably. I can't prove it. But the timing fits. Antigen hit us 4 hours after I used that safe house for the first time in weeks. Someone told them I'd be there." Celine was quiet for a moment. Amelia was always Victor's loyalist. She believed in his vision of vampire supremacy maintained through fear and control. When I killed him, I didn't just remove a tyrant. I invalidated everything she'd built her existence around. Chief understood. Institutions didn't die easily. The people who'd prospered under the old system always fought to restore it, no matter how corrupt or brutal it had been. He'd seen it in the outer colonies, in the fractured governments that emerged after Covenant attacks, or in the power struggles that erupted whenever UNSC authority collapsed. Hitting them directly would be tactically unsound, Chief observed. 17 hostiles in a fortified position with unknown capabilities. Even with element of surprise, we'd be overwhelmed. I'm not suggesting we attack. I'm suggesting we gather intelligence. Celine pulled out a small data drive, archaic by UNSC standards, cutting edge for this world. Amelia keeps records of everything: transactions, communications, alliances. If she's working with Antigen, there'll be evidence in her private files. Get me access to her personal server, and I can prove her betrayal to the other elders. Which accomplishes what exactly? It removes Antigen's vampire ally and puts the council in chaos. They'll be too busy with internal politics to hunt us. And it might convince some of the reasonable elders that humans are more dangerous than they've been treating them. Chief considered the tactical value. Destabilizing enemy leadership was standard special operations doctrine. But his experience with vampire politics extended to approximately 4 hours, most of which had been spent running from or fighting them. What's your entry plan? Celine's smile was sharp. I walk through the front door. I used to be one of Victor's most trusted death dealers. Some of the guards still remember that loyalty. Others will hesitate long enough for me to get inside. She held up the data drive. You provide the technical expertise. My people barely understand computers beyond basic email. Your AI could break their security in seconds. Cortana. The AI's avatar appeared on Chief's HUD, looking thoughtful. Their security is probably early 2000s encryption at best. I could crack it, but Chief, I'd need direct physical access to their network. These vampires don't seem like the wireless router types. Which means infiltration, Chief said. Which means I go in alone, Celine corrected. You're 7 feet tall in armor that weighs half a ton. Stealth isn't your strength. Chief almost argued, then recognized she was right. MJOLNIR could do a lot of things, but walking undetected through a building full of creatures with supernatural senses wasn't one of them. His role would be overwatch, support, extraction if things went wrong. I'll maintain position here. If you're compromised, I can provide suppressing fire and cover your withdrawal. If I'm compromised, I'm probably already dead. Celine checked her pistols, both loaded with silver nitrate rounds that would kill vampires as easily as humans. But I appreciate the sentiment. She moved to leave, then paused. Chief, when this is over, when we've dealt with Antigen, and I've helped you search for a way home, what then? If you can't find a way back, what are you going to do in a world that isn't yours? It was the question Chief had been avoiding since he'd woken in that alley. He'd spent 40 years with a purpose: protect humanity, defeat the Covenant, complete the mission. Now he was in a world where humanity was prey, where the enemies were other products of Earth's evolution, where his entire frame of reference for right and wrong didn't cleanly apply. I don't know, he admitted. The honesty felt strange. Spartans were supposed to be certain, decisive, always knowing the next move. Celine nodded like she understood. Welcome to the club. I've been asking myself the same question for 3 months. She slipped over the rooftop's edge, dropping 4 stories to the street below with inhuman grace, landing without sound. Chief watched her cross the street and approach the building's entrance. His rifle tracked her movement, ready to provide covering fire if needed. The guards at the door recognized her. He saw their body language shift from alert to confused to wary. Words were exchanged. Then Celine was inside, disappearing from his line of sight. Cortana, maintain tracking on Celine's position through thermal signature. Already on it. She's moving through the lobby, heading for the elevators. No signs of alarm yet. Chief settled into Overwatch position, his training taking over. This part he knew, the waiting, the watching, the constant threat assessment. It was almost comforting, having a clear tactical role even in this alien world. Minutes passed. His HUD showed Selena reaching the top floor, moving through corridors, avoiding patrols with the expertise of someone who knew the building's layout intimately. She reached what Chief assumed was Amelia's office, a large thermal signature suggesting a spacious room with minimal furniture. "She's in," Cortana reported. "Now we wait for her signal to..." Chief's motion tracker lit up red. Multiple contacts approaching his position from 3 directions. Fast, professional formation, not vampires. The movement pattern was wrong, too mechanical, too dependent on technology. "Chief, I'm reading encrypted radio communications, military-grade frequencies. That's not vampire hunters or Lycan scouts." Antigen. They'd anticipated this move, positioned assets to intercept anyone surveilling the vampire stronghold, which meant either they were monitoring the building constantly, or they knew we'd come here, Chief said quietly. Understanding clicked into place with tactical clarity. Lucian's information about the facility, the convenient mention of Lane, the suggestion that Amelia was the traitor, all of it designed to push us toward this exact location. "Chief, we need to warn Celine." "Can't." Radio silence to avoid detection. Chief was already moving, relocating to a new position before the antigen teams could triangulate his last location. "She's on her own for now, and we focus on not getting captured." The approaching contacts split into 3 fire teams, 12 operatives total, moving with tactical precision that suggested special forces training. They carried weapons Chief recognized despite the world's limited technology. Suppressed assault rifles, flashbangs, what looked like portable EMP devices. They were hunting him specifically. Everything else was distraction. Chief had 2 options: engage and reveal his position, or evade and hope Celine could handle whatever was waiting for her inside. The tactically sound choice was evasion. Preserve combat effectiveness, avoid unnecessary engagement, complete the primary objective. But something Lucian had said nagged at him. "Eventually, you'll have to choose." Chief chose. His rifle came up. "You are targeting reticle painting the lead operative in the nearest fire team. 1 shot, clean headshot." The operative dropped before his team could react. The antigen soldiers scattered, training overriding surprise, establishing cover positions, and calling in contact reports. Chief was already gone, relocating across rooftops with speed that MJOLNIR's enhanced mobility made possible. He fired from the new position, 3-round burst, 2 operatives down, then moved again. "Chief, what are you doing? This isn't tactically sound." "I'm drawing them away from Selena's position. If Antigen's here, they're planning to hit the vampire stronghold. She'll need warning." "You can't warn her without radio communication." "No, but I can make enough noise that everyone in that building will know something's wrong." Chief stopped being subtle. His next burst wasn't aimed at antigen operatives. It was aimed at a parked car near the vampire stronghold's entrance. The 7.62mm rounds punched through the fuel tank, and physics took care of the rest. The explosion lit up the pre-dawn darkness like a flashbulb, the fireball climbing 20 meters into the air. Alarms started screaming. Lights came on in buildings across the district, and in the vampire stronghold, every immortal inside would have heard the blast, felt the shockwave, recognized that their location had just been compromised. "Tactical warning delivered," Chief said calmly, already repositioning as antigen soldiers converged on his last known location. Inside the stronghold, Selena heard the explosion and understood immediately. She abandoned the data drive. Insufficient time, and no point in subtlety now, and pulled her pistols. The office door burst open, and Amelia stood there with 4 death dealers, all of them armed. "I knew you'd come," Amelia said, her voice carrying 6 centuries of cold calculation. "So predictable, Celine. So determined to prove everyone's a traitor except yourself. You sold us to antigen. You've been working with humans to experiment on our kind. I've been ensuring our survival. Humans are evolving past us, Celine. Their technology will surpass our biology within decades. The only way vampires remain apex predators is by controlling that evolution, by making ourselves indispensable to human power structures." Amelia's smile was razor sharp. "Dr. Lane understands this. Antigen understands this. Even your armored friend will understand it, once we've captured and studied him." Selena's response was direct. She shot the nearest death dealer in the head. Silver nitrate round, point-blank range, instant death. The room exploded into violence. On the rooftop, Chief's ammunition counter read 89 rounds. Shields at 71%. 9 antigen operatives neutralized, 3 remaining. His tactical assessment calculated that he'd bought Celine approximately 4 minutes of warning time. Enough to escape if she was smart, enough to prepare if she was stupid. He hoped she was smart. The remaining antigen operatives had given up trying to flank him and called in reinforcements. Chief's motion tracker showed 6 additional contacts approaching in vehicles, probably the hybrid containment team, the specialists who'd handle threats conventional soldiers couldn't. Time to leave. Chief sprinted across the rooftops, Mjolnir's enhanced mobility turning what should be impossible jumps into routine maneuvers. Behind him, Budapest was waking up to the sound of explosions and gunfire. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Somewhere, humans who didn't know about vampires and Lycans were about to get a very rude education. The masquerade was breaking. The Shadow War was going public, and Master Chief had just made sure everyone knew a new player had entered the game. He reached the extraction point, an abandoned warehouse Celine had designated as their rally point. His motion tracker showed clear. He had approximately 10 minutes before antigen tracked him here, maybe less if they had aerial assets. 7 minutes later, Celine came through the warehouse's skylight in a shower of broken glass, landing in a crouch with her coat shredded and blood, not all of it hers, painting her face. She had a laptop bag slung over her shoulder and murder in her eyes. "Did you get the data?" Chief asked. "Better. I got Amelia." Celine pulled a severed head from the laptop bag, the vampire elder's expression frozen in permanent shock. The council won't ignore this. They'll have to acknowledge that one of their own betrayed them to humans. Chief looked at the head, then at Celine, and made a tactical reassessment. This woman was not someone to underestimate. Ever. "Antigen's response teams will be here in approximately 3 minutes, he said. "We need to move." Agreed. The Lycan Warrens are our best option. Neutral ground where neither vampires nor humans can easily follow. Lucian's territory, the one who fed us intelligence that led to this. Yes, which means we walk in knowing he's playing his own game. Celine smiled, and there was something feral in it. But so are we. And unlike the vampires, unlike the Lycans, unlike antigen, we're not bound by centuries of grudges and territorial politics. We can be unpredictable. Chief's motion tracker pinged. Incoming contacts. Lots of them. Time to be unpredictable then, he said. And they ran into the Budapest dawn, while behind them, the shadow war started burning in the light of day. The Lycan warrens existed in the spaces Budapest's human population had forgotten. Abandoned metro tunnels from failed expansion projects, World War II bunkers, the skeletal remains of Soviet-era construction buried under urban development. To reach them, Selena led Chief through a maintenance shaft behind a condemned factory, down rusted ladders that groaned under MJOLNIR's weight, into darkness that smelled of wet concrete and something organic Chief's armor classified as biological threat, unknown. His motion tracker painted dozens of signatures in the chambers ahead, all of them large, all of them moving with predatory awareness. They know we're here, Selene said quietly. She'd cleaned the blood from her face, but her coat was still shredded, testament to the violence in Amelia's office. Lycans can smell us from half a kilometer away. The question is whether Lucian ordered them to let us pass or tear us apart. Chief's rifle was up, tracking the nearest signatures through the tunnel walls. Your assessment of Lucian's intentions? Complicated. He wants to use you against the vampires, but he respects strength. You refused his offer, which makes you unpredictable. He'll either see that as a threat to eliminate or an asset to turn. Selene paused at a junction where 3 tunnels converged, her vampire senses reading something in the air that Chief's technology couldn't detect. He's also a pragmatist. If he kills us, antigen remains a threat to his kind. If he helps us, we might eliminate his enemies for him. Enemy of my enemy doctrine. Exactly. But with Lycans, Magrar, you never know when they'll decide you're a bigger enemy than the one you're both fighting. They emerged into a vast chamber that had once been a subway station platform, never completed, now converted into something that resembled a military forward operating base mixed with a medieval great hall. Crude but effective fortifications, weapon caches, mostly modified firearms and melee weapons designed for clawed hands. Living spaces carved into alcoves, marked by territorial scent markers Chief's helmet helpfully translated as chemical signatures suggesting dominance hierarchies. And Lycans, dozens of them. Most were in human form, men and women who could pass for normal on the street. But Chief's threat assessment noted the tells. Too much muscle, too predatory in their movements, eyes that tracked with animal precision, and they stopped their activities. Weapon maintenance, sparring, conversations in languages Chief's translator couldn't parse, and stared at the armored stranger who'd walked into their territory. A few were partially transformed, caught between human and beast, bodies rippling with fur and enhanced muscle, faces elongated into something that was neither wolf nor human, but a nightmare combination. These ones growled, low and threatening, the sound reverberating in Chief's chest, even through his armor's environmental seals. Selene stepped forward, hands visible, weapons holstered. We're here to speak with Lucian, under parley protocols. The vampire has no right to parley. One of the partially transformed Lycans snarled. She's killed dozens of our kind. Her presence is an insult. The vampire killed Victor, another voice said. This one female, calm, authoritative. A woman emerged from deeper in the warren, fully human in appearance, but radiating the same predatory power as Selene. She freed slaves the elders were using as experiments. She destroyed the death dealer who murdered 3 packs in Prague. By Lycan law, she's earned the right to speak. The woman was young by vampire standards, maybe 40, but her eyes held centuries of accumulated pain. She studied Chief with disturbing intensity, circling him at a distance that kept her outside his immediate strike range, but close enough that she could attack if needed. And the metal man? What laws protect him? I protect myself, Chief said flatly. The woman laughed, a sound with genuine amusement in it. I like him. Direct. No false courtesy, no political games. She stopped circling and faced him squarely. I'm Sonia, Lucian's second. You want to talk to him, you go through me first. Chief's tactical assessment registered her as a significant threat. Her movements were too controlled, too precise, the body language of someone who'd spent years mastering violence. What do you want to know? Why you're here, what you want, whether you're going to be a problem for my people. Sonia tilted her head, studying his armor. Lucian told me about your refusal to join us. Most humans with your power would have jumped at the chance to slaughter vampires. You said no. Why? Because genocide isn't a mission objective. It's a failure of strategy. The chamber went very quiet. Every Lycan in earshot had stopped what they were doing, listening with the attention of people who'd spent lifetimes being hunted and weren't used to hearing their enemy's extinction called anything but necessary. Sonia's expression was unreadable. You think we're wrong to want vampires dead? After centuries of slavery, experimentation, murder, after Victor used our children as test subjects for his immortality research? I think, Chief said carefully, that revenge disguised as justice leads to wars that never end. I've seen it, fought in it, lost people to it. He paused, choosing his words with the precision of a tactical briefing. The Covenant, the enemy I fought for 30 years, wanted humanity extinct because their religion said we were heretics. We wanted them dead because they'd glassed our colonies and killed billions. Both sides were right. Both sides were wrong. The war only ended when we found a third option. And what option is that? Destroying the lie that made the war necessary in the first place. Sonia was quiet for a long moment, her eyes never leaving his visor. Then she turned and gestured for them to follow. Lucian will want to hear this himself. They moved deeper into the warrens, Chief's motion tracker painting a three-dimensional map of tunnels that extended for kilometers under Budapest's foundations. They passed training chambers where Lycans sparred in both human and transformed states, armories that would make UNSC quartermasters jealous, medical facilities that looked disturbingly well used. You're organized, Chief observed. This isn't a refugee camp. It's a military base. We've been at war for 600 years, Sonia said. But you don't survive that long without discipline, structure, planning. Victor taught us that lesson when he made us slaves. We just turned his teachings against him. She led them into a chamber that served as command center. Maps of Budapest and surrounding territories covered the walls, marked with vampire territories, human population centers, antigen facilities. A strategic operations center that would fit naturally in any UNSC command structure. Lucian stood at the center, fully human now, studying the maps with the intensity of a general planning a campaign. He turned as they entered, his expression unreadable. Celine, Spartan. I wondered how long before antigen's manipulation brought you to me. His voice carried no surprise, only confirmation of expectations. They played you perfectly, fed you information about the facility, made sure you'd attack the vampire stronghold, forced you into a position where I'm your only ally left standing. You knew, Selene said, anger sharp in her voice. You knew it was a setup and you told us anyway. Yes, because the information was true, even if the delivery was designed to manipulate you. There is a facility in the Carpathians. Lane is conducting experiments. Antigen is creating hybrid soldiers. The setup doesn't change those facts. It just means we need to be smarter about how we respond. Chief's tactical mind recognized the play. Lycan was framing himself as the honest broker, the one who provided truth even when it served multiple purposes. Classic intelligence manipulation, the kind of psychological warfare that turned enemies into allies without them realizing they'd been turned. "What do you want, Aunt Lucian?" Chief asked directly, cutting through the political maneuvering. The Lycan leader smiled. "Straight to business. I appreciate that." He gestured to the maps. Antigen has 6 major facilities across Eastern Europe. The Carpathian site is their primary research center, where they develop the hybrid formula, where they test their supersoldier program, where they keep their most valuable specimens. If we destroy it, we set their program back years, maybe permanently. "We?" Seleni's voice was skeptical. "You need intelligence on the facility's defenses, layout, guard rotation. You need equipment, explosives, heavy weapons, things your pistols and his rifle won't be sufficient for. You need extraction planning for after the operation." Lycan met Chief's visor. "And most importantly, you need manpower. That facility is guarded by 200 antigen security personnel, plus an unknown number of hybrid soldiers. Even a Spartan can't fight those odds alone." Chief's tactical analysis confirmed it. Solo infiltration was possible, but mission success probability dropped below acceptable thresholds without support. Lycan was right, and they both knew it. "In exchange?" Chief asked. "You disable the facility's supernatural containment wing. Free the Lycans they're holding there." Lucian's expression hardened. 23 of my people are in those cells. Antigen's been using them for experiments, testing transformation triggers, harvesting their regenerative tissue, trying to weaponize our biology. I want them back. It was a reasonable request. Tactical objective aligned with moral imperative, like the kind of mission Chief had run dozens of times during the Covenant War. Hit the prison camps, extract the POWs, deny the enemy their research. But something about Lucian's phrasing triggered Chief's tactical instincts. "You said 23 Lycans. What else is in that containment wing?" Lucian's smile was sharp. "Perceptive. They're also holding 47 vampires. Most of them from covens that opposed Victor's rule, captured when they tried to flee Eastern Europe after his death. Antigen doesn't discriminate. They'll experiment on any supernatural creature they can cage." "You want us to free vampires?" Selene said flatly. "Your enemies. The species you want extinct. I want to deny Antigen resources and data. If some vampires escape in the process, that's an acceptable cost." Lycan leaned forward, his posture aggressive but not threatening. "Here's the truth, Death Dealer. I hate vampires. I've spent 600 years fighting your kind, and I'll spend 600 more if I have to. But I hate what humans like Lane are doing to all of us more. They're turning immortals into lab rats, our powers into weapons they'll use to dominate both our species. That's a bigger threat than our ancient blood feud." Chief understood the calculation. Lycan was choosing between 2 enemies and deciding which one was more dangerous to his people's survival. Standard strategic triage. "You're asking us to trust you," Chief said. "To work with Lycans who've been killing vampires for centuries, on a mission that will free both species from human experimentation. What guarantee do we have that the freed Lycans won't immediately attack the freed vampires?" "None," Lycan admitted. "I can order my people to focus on escape over combat. I can promise to prioritize extraction of Lycan prisoners. But I can't guarantee that 600 years of hatred will pause just because we're all in the same building. That's the reality of this war." Selene looked at Chief, and he recognized the question in her eyes. Is this worth it? Can we trust him enough to try? Chief thought about the UNSC, about the Arbiter, about how the Human Covenant alliance had seemed impossible right up until the moment it became necessary, about how sometimes the only way to end a war was to force enemies to recognize a common threat. Cortana, analysis. The AI appeared on his HUD, her expression thoughtful. Tactically, he's right about needing support. The facility specs he's offering match what I've been able to pull from encrypted antigen communications. And Chief, those experimental subjects? If even half of what Lane's doing matches his work with Victor, those people are being tortured, both species. Chief made his decision. We'll do it. One mission, clearly defined objectives, extraction plan agreed upon before we commit. After that, we reassess the alliance. Lucian nodded slowly. Acceptable. My people will provide support, weapons, and intelligence. You provide the strategic planning and tactical expertise. Celine provides knowledge of vampire weaknesses in case freed prisoners go hostile. Together, we hit Antigen hard enough they think twice before caging immortals again. He extended his hand, human now, not clawed. But Chief's threat assessment still registered the strength in those fingers that could crush stone. Chief took the hand. The grip was firm, testing, a warrior's acknowledgement of another warrior. One mission, Chief repeated. One mission, Lucian agreed. And Spartan? When this is over, when you've seen what Lane and his kind do to both vampires and Lycans in the name of science and progress, you'll understand why our war isn't as simple as revenge versus justice. Sometimes the monsters aren't the ones with fangs and claws. Chief had no response to that. He'd been turned into a weapon at age 6, augmented at 14, deployed at 15. He knew exactly what humans could justify doing to children in the name of protecting their species. The question was whether that knowledge would change how he fought. Sonya returned with 3 Lycans carrying equipment cases. Tactical gear for the Spartan, weapons, ammunition, demolition charges, everything you'll need for a hard target assault. She opened one case to reveal explosives that looked professionally manufactured. Military-grade C4, detonators, breaching charges. Where did you get this? Chief asked. Same place Antigen gets theirs. Black market arms dealers don't ask questions if you pay in gold. And vampires have been accumulating gold for centuries. We've been liberating their supply caches. Sonya's smile was vicious. Poetic, using vampire wealth to arm Lycans for an operation that might save vampire lives. Chief examined the equipment with professional appreciation. Quality gear, properly maintained, sufficient for the mission. Lucian's people knew their business. We move in 48 hours, Lucian said. That gives you time to plan, my people time to prepare, and Antigen time to think they've scared you into hiding. The facility is 300 kilometers northeast in the mountains. We'll travel in civilian vehicles, stay off Antigen's radar until we're ready to hit them. Agreed, Chief said. He turned to Celine. We need to review facility schematics, identify primary objectives, and plan extraction routes. Celine nodded, but her expression was troubled. As they moved to the tactical planning area, she leaned close and whispered, You realize this is exactly what Antigen wants? Vampires and Lycans working together, coming to them, walking into whatever trap they've prepared? Yes. And you're doing it anyway? Yes. Because even if it's a trap, those 70 prisoners are real. Lane's experiments are real, and stopping that is worth the risk. Chief paused. Unless you disagree? Celine was quiet for a moment, then shook her head. No, I agree. I'm just not used to working with people who choose the moral option when the tactical option is safer. The moral option is the tactical option, Chief said. In my experience, the missions where you abandon your principles to achieve an objective are the ones that haunt you forever. They spent the next 6 hours planning an assault on a facility protected by 200 guards, unknown number of hybrid supersoldiers, and probably every trap and countermeasure Antigen could devise. It was the kind of mission that had a very low probability of success. It was exactly the kind of mission Spartans were made for. The Carpathian Mountains rose like teeth from the earth. Ancient, unforgiving, wrapped in forests so thick that satellite surveillance became nearly useless beneath their canopy. The Antigen facility, designated Research Station Omega, sat in a valley 40 kilometers from the nearest human settlement, accessible only by a single mountain road that wound through terrain designed by geology to kill invaders. Master Chief studied the facility through his rifle's scope from a ridgeline 2 kilometers out, his armor's optics cutting through morning mist to paint a tactical picture that made even a Spartan reassess the odds. Cortana, full analysis. His HUD lit up with data as the AI processed visual intelligence. 2 perimeter fences, 8 meters high, electrified. Guard towers at 100-meter intervals. I'm counting 12 visible, probably more masked by terrain. Main compound is reinforced concrete, 3 stories above ground, at least 2 below based on ventilation shaft placement. Vehicle depot, helipad, what looks like a dedicated power station. This isn't a research lab, Chief. It's a military installation disguised as one. Chief's motion tracker painted patrol patterns. Guards moving with disciplined precision, timing their routes to maintain overlapping coverage. Professional security, the kind that didn't leave gaps for infiltration. Standard breach points would be predicted, covered, turned into kill zones. Standard wasn't going to work. Vehicle depot is our entry point, he said, marking it on the tactical overlay he was sharing with Celine and Lucian's team. Time to coincide with shift change at 0600 hours. We'll have a 4-minute window when inbound and outbound personnel create confusion at the checkpoint. Lucian's voice came through the radio, a piece of civilian hardware Cortana had modified to encrypt their communications. 4 minutes isn't enough time to breach, locate the containment wing, and extract 70 prisoners. 4 minutes to get inside undetected. After that, stealth becomes irrelevant. We go loud, hit them fast, extract before they can organize a meaningful response. Celine crouched beside Chief, her vampire eyes reading details his technology couldn't quite capture. The containment wing will be underground. Maximum security, isolated from the main facility in case of containment breach. We'll need to fight through the entire compound to reach it. No, Chief said, adjusting his scope's focus to the ventilation shafts. We need to go under it. Cortana highlighted the shaft network on his HUD. Chief, those vents are 18 inches wide. You won't fit in MJOLNIR, and even if you could, they're probably alarmed, filtered, and monitored. I won't be using the vents. I'll be using what they're connected to. Chief traced the shaft placement with his targeting reticle, building a 3-dimensional model in his tactical overlay. Every underground facility needs air circulation, water supply, and sewage disposal. Those systems require access tunnels large enough for maintenance. Tunnels that bypass most security because they're considered too difficult to infiltrate. Lucian's laugh came through the radio, rough with approval. The old ways. Is how vampires used them for centuries. Humans always forget to guard their own waste. Sonia's team will provide the surface distraction, Chief continued, outlining the operational plan with the precision of a UNSC briefing. Draw security forces toward the main gate. Make them think we're attempting a frontal assault. While they're focused there, Celine and I enter through the sewage outflow, access the maintenance tunnels, and breach the containment wing from below. "And my people?" Lucian asked. "Hold the perimeter. When we extract with the prisoners, we'll need a clear route out. Your Lycans establish blocking positions on the access road. Prevent reinforcements from cutting off our escape." It was a solid plan. Three-pronged approach, multiple contingencies, clear objectives for each element. The kind of operation Chief had run dozens of times against Covenant strongholds. Of course, those operations had usually included a full Spartan fire team, UNSC air support, and extraction guaranteed by orbiting warships. This time he had a vampire, a pack of werewolves, and hope. Standard Tuesday for a Spartan. "One problem," Celine said quietly. "The containment wing won't just open. Lane's paranoid. He'll have biometric locks, multiple authentication protocols, probably kill switches that flood the cells with UV radiation or silver gas if someone tries to force entry. Then, we don't force entry. We convince the facility we're authorized personnel." Chief pulled out a small device Lucian's people had provided, a biometric scanner they'd lifted from a captured antigen operative. When Cortana can spoof security credentials if we can get close enough to their network. And if the network's isolated, air-gapped from external access, then I'll establish a direct connection. Chief tapped his helmet. Cortana's neural interface can connect to almost any computer system if I can physically access a terminal. It won't be pretty, but it'll work. The radio crackled with Sonia's voice. She was positioned 3 kilometers west with 15 Lycans, ready to initiate the distraction. "All teams report ready. Waiting for your signal, Spartan." Chief checked his gear one final time. MA-5D assault rifle, 112 rounds remaining, supplemented by Lycan-provided ammunition that Cortana had verified would work with his weapon. M6 Magnum sidearm, 48 rounds, 4 fragmentation grenades, 6 breaching charges, combat knife, okay, and enough C4 explosive to level a small building. Not exactly UNSC standard loadout, but it would do. Celine checked her own equipment. Twin pistols, silver nitrate rounds, a sword she'd claimed was 600 years old and still sharp enough to decapitate vampires. Her expression was calm, focused, the look of a warrior who'd done this so many times that fear had become background noise. "Last chance to back out," she said. "Once we're inside, there's no extraction if things go wrong, no rescue, no backup." Chief's response was flat, emotionless, the voice of a Spartan giving a mission status report. "Spartans don't back out. We adapt and overcome. Even when the odds are impossible? Especially then." Celine smiled, sharp, feral, genuine. "I knew there was a reason I liked you." Chief activated the tactical network, linking all elements of the operation. "All teams, this is Sierra 117. Mission is go in 60 seconds. Sonia, initiate distraction on my mark. Lucian, have your blocking forces ready to move when we signal extraction. Celine and I are moving to breach point." Confirmations came back across the network. Professional, disciplined, ready. These weren't regular soldiers, but they fought like them. Centuries of guerrilla warfare had taught the Lycans lessons the UNSC had to learn through blood. Chief and Celine moved down the ridgeline, using the terrain to mask their approach. His armor's active camouflage flickered at the edges, bending light, making his already stealthy movement nearly invisible. Celine flowed through the forest like a shadow, her vampire nature making her supernaturally quiet. Oh, they reached the sewage outflow, a concrete pipe 3 meters in diameter, dumping facility waste into a mountain stream that would carry it kilometers downstream. The smell was overwhelming, even through Chief's environmental filters. Celine didn't even flinch. Vampires have enhanced senses, she said, reading his body language. "Which means I can smell things humans can't imagine. You get used to it after the first century." "How long until you can't smell this?" "Ask me in another 500 years. Chief's HUD displayed the countdown. 30 seconds. He raised his hand, signaling the breached teams. Radio discipline. No unnecessary communication, just crisp acknowledgments. 20 seconds. Chief's motion tracker showed the facility's security patrols following their pattern. Predictable. Professional. About to have a very bad morning. 10 seconds. Celine's eyes had shifted, not fully vampire, but enough that they glowed faintly in the darkness. Her body language read as coiled violence, a predator preparing to strike. 5 seconds. Chief's shields powered up to full charge, his rifle's safety clicked off. His tactical overlay painted target priorities across three-dimensional space. 3, 2, 1. Execute. 2 kilometers away, Sonia's team opened fire on the facility's main gate with everything they had. Assault rifles, explosives, enough noise to wake the dead. The facility's alarms screamed to life. Guard towers swiveled, focusing on the threat. Security forces poured out of barracks, rushing toward the main entrance with weapons hot in orders to repel the attack. Chief and Celine entered the sewage pipe and disappeared into the facility's bowels, while above them, the chaos reigned. The maintenance tunnels were exactly as Chief had predicted, large enough for a person, running parallel to the main sewage line, lit by emergency lighting that cast everything in sickly yellow-green. His motion tracker painted the tunnel system, building a map as they moved deeper. Cortana, distance to containment wing? 300 meters northeast, down 2 levels. I'm reading electronic signatures consistent with high-security detention, biometric locks, redundant power systems, isolated ventilation. Chief, those aren't standard prison cells. The power consumption suggests they're running some kind of containment fields. Specialized containment for supernatural prisoners. Chief had seen similar setups used to hold flood specimens, energy barriers that could be activated remotely, fail-safes that could kill the subjects if breach protocols were triggered. They reached a junction where the maintenance tunnel intersected with what looked like a primary access corridor. Chief's motion tracker showed 4 signatures: guards, moving in patrol formation, standard security, but positioned to prevent exactly what Chief was attempting. He signaled Celine, "Contact ahead, 4 hostiles, take them quietly." She nodded understanding and moved with speed that still surprised him, despite having fought beside her for 3 days. She was on the first guard before he could react. Hand over mouth, blade through the gap in his body armor, precise strike to the heart. The guard dropped without sound. The second guard turned, raising his rifle. Chief was faster. His armored hand closed around the weapon's barrel, yanking it aside while his other hand delivered a strike to the guard's temple that crumpled him instantly. Not dead. Chief didn't kill unnecessarily, but unconscious for hours. The third and fourth guards got off shots, suppressed but still loud in the enclosed space. Rounds sparked off Chief's shields, draining them by percentages. He closed the distance in 3 strides, using MJOLNIR's mass as a battering ram. The guards went down hard, bones breaking under half a ton of armor moving at combat speed. "Contact neutralized," Chief said into the radio, proceeding to objective. Above them, Sonia's distraction was working. Chief's tactical overlay showed facility security forces fully committed to repelling the assault at the main gate. The containment wing was guarded, but not reinforced. They'd created their window. They moved deeper, Chief taking point, Celine covering their 6. The facility's architecture shifted from maintenance infrastructure to hardened military construction, reinforced walls, blast doors, security checkpoints every 50 meters. This wasn't just a research lab. It was designed to withstand assault and contain things that could tear through conventional security. Chief's motion tracker pinged. 30 signatures ahead, concentrated in what had to be the containment wing. Too many for stealth, not enough time for infiltration. Time to go loud. He planted a breaching charge on the blast door, set the timer for 5 seconds, and stepped back. Cortana, prepare to interface with their security network. Once this door blows, he will have maybe 90 seconds before they lock down the entire wing. Ready when you are. The charge detonated with a sound like thunder in the enclosed space. The blast door, rated to withstand shaped charges, buckled, twisted, and tore free of its hinges. Chief was through before the smoke cleared, rifle up, shields flaring as guards opened fire. Standard antigen security, body armor, automatic weapons, tactical training. They died professional, but they died fast. Chief's rifle barked controlled bursts, each shot precise, economical, lethal. Celine flowed around him like water, her pistol speaking silver death, her sword taking heads from guards who thought body armor made them safe. 20 seconds. 15 guards down. Chief's shields at 43%. Ammunition counter at 87 rounds. Cortana, security terminal. You're 3 o'clock. Chief saw it. A control station built into the wall, screens displaying cell status, biometric readers, override protocols. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, ripping the terminal's cover off with armored hands, exposing the circuitry beneath. Interfacing now, Cortana said. Her avatar flickered on the terminal screen, then vanished into the facility's network like a digital ghost. Their security is... Chief, this is nasty. Multi-layered authentication, quantum encryption, kill switch protocols tied to biometric monitoring. If I trigger any alarms, they'll flood the cells with lethal compounds. Can you bypass it? Give me 30 seconds. Chief didn't have 30 seconds. His motion tracker showed reinforcements approaching. 20 additional signatures, moving fast. He's probably the facility's quick reaction force. He positioned himself at the corridor entrance, rifle steady, shields recharging to 67%. They came in tactical formation, professional, disciplined, using cover and suppressing fire. Good tactics, not good enough. Chief's first burst caught the point man's center mass armor-piercing rounds, punching through body armor and Kevlar. The formation scattered, seeking cover, trying to establish a defensive position. Chief didn't let them. He advanced into their fire, shields absorbing rounds that would have killed unarmored humans, his return fire precise and devastating. 3 down, 5 down, 8 down. A grenade bounced into the corridor. Fragmentation, not flashbang. Chief's threat assessment screamed warnings. He grabbed Celine, moving too fast for her to protest, and threw both of them behind a structural support column as the grenade detonated. Shrapnel raked across his shields, dropping them to 12%. The explosion's overpressure rang even through his armor's dampening. But they were alive, and the enemy's formation was broken. Cortana! 5 more seconds, got it. The AI's voice was triumphant. Containment fields are down, cell locks disabled, kill switches neutralized. You're clear to extract prisoners. The blast doors along the containment wing hissed open simultaneously, revealing cells that made Chief's tactical assessment recategorize the facility from research station to war crime in progress. The prisoners were in bad shape. Vampires and Lycans, some in human form, some partially transformed, for all of them showing signs of extensive experimentation, Surgical scars, implant sites, chemical burns. Some could barely move. Others stared with eyes that had gone somewhere human minds shouldn't go. "Everyone who can walk, move now," Celine shouted, her command voice cutting through shock and pain. "Lycans to the left, vampires to the right. We're extracting all of you." The prisoners moved, slowly at first, then faster as survival instinct overcame trauma. 23 Lycans, most of them young, all of them scarred. 47 vampires from a dozen different covens, united only by their shared suffering. And in the back cell, isolated from the others, something that made even Chief pause. The hybrid was massive. 7 feet tall, built like the one they'd fought in Budapest, but different. Enhanced. Perfected. Its eyes held intelligence that was coldly calculating. And when it spoke, the voice was almost human. "Dr. Lane said you'd come. The Spartan and the traitor. He's been waiting for you." Chief's targeting reticle locked onto the hybrid's head. "Where is he?" "Watching. Learning. Preparing his real weapon." The hybrid smiled, and its fangs gleamed in the harsh light. "You think this is a rescue? You're extracting his test subjects, his successes and failures, taking them exactly where he wants them. The Lycans will return to their warrens, the vampires to their covens, and Lane's implants, his nanites, his beautiful little monitoring devices we're all carrying. They'll spread his surveillance across the entire supernatural network." Understanding hit Chief like a physical blow. Cortana. Scanning prisoners now. "Chief, and every single one of them has subcutaneous implants. Tracking devices, biometric monitors, probably remote kill switches. This entire operation, it was designed to turn the prisoners into intelligence assets. We just helped Antigen infiltrate both vampire and Lycan populations. Tactical reassessment. Not a rescue. A deployment. The prisoners weren't victims. They were weapons. Unwitting carriers of surveillance technology that would give Antigen eyes and ears inside every supernatural faction in Eastern Europe. And Chief had just helped them do it. The hybrid smile widened. "Welcome to the new war, Spartan, where the battlefield is biology and the weapons are the very people you're trying to save. Lane sends his regards." Behind them, alarms screamed as facility lockdown engaged. In the distance, Chief heard the distinctive whine of attack helicopters spooling up. And somewhere in the facility's depths, Dr. Jacob Lane watched his experiment succeed with the satisfaction of a scientist who just changed the entire paradigm of warfare. Chief had walked into more than a trap. He'd walked into a strategic checkmate dressed up as a moral imperative. And the worst part? He still had to extract the prisoners, because leaving them was never an option, even if they were compromised. Even if extracting them served the enemy's goals. Because that's what Spartans did. They saved people. Even when it cost them everything. Master Chief had 3 seconds to make a decision that would define the entire operation's outcome. 70 compromised prisoners, antigen lockdown protocols engaging, attack helicopters inbound, and a facility full of guards who now knew exactly where he was. He made his choice. "Cortana, can you deactivate the implants remotely?" "Negative. They're hardened against electronic countermeasures, probably shielded to prevent exactly what I'm trying to do. I'd need direct physical access to each implant, and even then, Chief, we're talking surgical extraction, hours of work per subject." Chief's motion tracker painted the tactical nightmare. 40+ signatures converging on their position, helicopter signatures lifting off from the helipad, facility blast doors slamming shut throughout the complex. They had maybe 2 minutes before extraction became impossible. "Change of plans," he said into the radio. his voice carrying the absolute certainty of a Spartan making command decisions. "Lucian, we've got 70 prisoners, all of them carrying antigen tracking implants. Extracting them gives Lane surveillance on your entire network." The radio was silent for 3 seconds, an eternity in combat time. Then Lucian's voice came back, cold and calculating. "Leave them. The mission is compromised. Extract yourself and Celine." "Negative." "Spartan, I respect your abilities, but tactical reality, I said negative." Chief's tone didn't change, but something in it made even a 600-year-old Lycan pause. "We're extracting all 70, but we're not taking them to your warrens or vampire covens. So we're taking them somewhere Lane can't track, can't predict, and can't leverage." "And where exactly is that?" Chief was already moving, herding prisoners toward the corridor while Selene covered their withdrawal with precise pistol fire. Somewhere neither vampires nor Lycans would think to look. Somewhere human, public, and completely off the supernatural grid. Understanding dawned in Celine's voice. "You're insane." "I'm adaptive." Chief planted his last breaching charge on the containment wing's secondary exit, a service corridor that led deeper into the facility's sublevels. "Cortana, find me a route to the vehicle depot that avoids main security checkpoints." "Plotting now. Chief, you're going to hate this." A route appeared on his HUD, through maintenance shafts, across a sewage treatment area, and up 3 levels via a cargo elevator that probably hadn't been designed for 70 people, plus a Spartan in armor. Probability of success, 23%. Chief had beaten worse odds. The breaching charge detonated, blowing the secondary exit into twisted metal. Chief went through first, rifle up, shields at 34% and recharging. The corridor beyond was clear, for now. His motion tracker showed the main security force still converging on the primary containment entrance, expecting him to extract the way he'd entered. Predictable tactics got soldiers killed. Chief had learned that lesson at age 6. "Move!" he barked at the prisoners, his command voice cutting through their shock and trauma. The ones who could walk helped the ones who couldn't. Lycans and vampires working together out of pure survival instinct, the ancient hatreds temporarily suspended by the more immediate threat of antigen recapture. Celine moved among them with impossible speed, supporting the weakest, providing cover fire when guards appeared at intersections. Chief covered the front, his rifle speaking with mechanical precision. Every round counted. He was down to 64 in the magazine, maybe another 80 rounds total in the scavenged ammunition. They reached the maintenance shaft. Too small for Chief in armor, but the prisoners could fit if they moved fast. "Celine, take them through. I'll provide rear guard and meet you at the elevator." She didn't argue. No time for debate, just crisp acknowledgement of tactical necessity. She herded the first prisoners into the shaft, moving them with the efficiency of someone who'd conducted extractions for centuries. Chief positioned himself at the intersection, his rifle trained down 3 corridors simultaneously via his HUD's targeting overlay. His motion tracker painted incoming hostiles, 12 signatures, moving in coordinated fire teams. Professional, disciplined, about to learn why Spartans were called demons. The first fire team rounded the corner and Chief opened up. Controlled bursts, economical fire, every round finding its target. 3 guards down in 2 seconds. The others scattered, seeking cover, calling for backup. A grenade bounced around the corner. Chief's threat assessment tagged it as flashbang, disorienting, not lethal. He grabbed it mid-bounce with reflexes that made the action look easy and threw it back with Spartan-enhanced strength. The grenade detonated among the security team with satisfying results. His ammunition counter read 49 rounds. "Chief, last prisoner is through." Celine's voice crackled over the radio. "Moving to elevator now." Chief fired a final burst to suppress the security forces, then turned and sprinted. Half a ton of MJOLNIR armor moving at 40 kilometers per hour sounded like a freight train. But speed mattered more than stealth now. The facility knew where he was. The question was whether they could stop him before he reached extraction. The cargo elevator was designed for moving equipment, not people. A massive industrial platform with weight capacity measured in tons. All 70 prisoners crowded onto it, pressed together in a mass of vampire and Lycan bodies that should have erupted into violence, but remained focused on survival. Chief stepped onto the platform last. His weight made the elevator groan, E-cables straining, but it held. "Cortana, override controls. Take us to vehicle depot level." "Already on it. Chief, those helicopters are airborne. 2 gunships, military-grade weapons, probably equipped with anti-armor missiles. They're circling the facility, searching for us." "Time until they locate the elevator?" 90 seconds, maybe less. The elevator lurched upward with painful slowness, its motors struggling with the overload. Chief's motion tracker showed security forces converging on the shaft from multiple levels, trying to cut them off before they reached the surface. "Celine, when we reach the depot, you lead the prisoners to the vehicles. I'll hold the security forces." 1 Spartan against 200 guards? Won't be the first time. The elevator passed level 2. Level 1. Now the vehicle depot was 30 meters above them, and Chief's motion tracker showed 20 signatures waiting at the elevator doors. Ambush formation. Good tactics. Too predictable. "Cortana, emergency stop. Here, now." The elevator jerked to a halt between levels. Chief didn't wait for the doors. He punched through the elevator's side panel with armored fists, creating an opening that led into a service corridor. Not the depot. Not where Antigen expected them to emerge. "Everyone through. Move fast, stay quiet." The prisoners scrambled through the improvised exit, driven by survival instinct and the absolute authority in Chief's voice. Selena went last, her expression showing grudging respect for the tactical adaptation. They emerged into a corridor that ran parallel to the vehicle depot, separated by a single wall of reinforced concrete. Chief could hear guards on the other side, positioned around the elevator doors, waiting for targets that wouldn't appear. He placed his last C4 charge on the wall, set the timer for 10 seconds, and gestured everyone back. The explosion was shaped, directional, blowing the wall inward and showering the surprised security forces with concrete debris. Chief went through before the dust settled, rifle up, targeting reticle tracking 6 guards simultaneously. His shields flared under return fire, dropping to 18%. But he was already among them, using MJOLNIR's mass as a weapon, rifle butt to one guard's head, armored elbow to another's chest. The guards had trained to fight supernatural creatures. They'd never trained to fight a half-ton armored juggernaut that moved with predatory precision. 15 seconds. 8 guards neutralized, while Chief's ammunition counter read 31 rounds. "Vehicles secured?" Celine called out. She'd commandeered 2 antigen transport trucks, heavy-duty models built for moving equipment through mountain terrain. The prisoners were loading, vampires and Lycans working together with the efficiency of desperation. Chief provided covering fire as the last prisoners boarded, his rifle dropping the final security guards who tried to stop the extraction. His ammunition counter hit 0. He dropped the magazine, pulled his sidearm, M6 Magnum, 48 rounds, last reserve. "Chief, helicopters have visual on the depot." Cortana's warning came with targeting overlays showing attack vectors. They're arming missiles. Celine, drive, now! The truck's engines roared to life. Celine was at the wheel of the lead vehicle, one of the stronger Lycans driving the second. They punched through the depot's exit gate with the kind of driving that suggested vehicular safety was a distant concern. Chief grabbed onto the lead truck's exterior, maglocking his armor to the roof as Celine accelerated down the mountain road. Behind them, the facility's main gates opened and pursuit vehicles poured out. Armed jeeps, more trucks, probably carrying the hybrid soldiers Lane had been perfecting. And above them, the gunships. The first missiles streaked down with a contrail like a finger of God. Chief's threat assessment screamed warnings. Armor-piercing, high explosive, targeted directly at the lead truck. No time to evade. No time to warn Celine. Time to do what Spartans did best, the impossible. Chief jumped. Not away from the truck, toward the missile. His armor's thrusters, minimal, designed for zero-G maneuvering, are never meant for atmospheric use, fired at maximum burn. He caught the missile mid-flight, his armored hands closing around the warhead, his shields flaring brilliant blue as the impact nearly tore him from the sky. For one impossible second, Master Chief held a live missile designed to destroy armored vehicles. Then he redirected it. The physics were brutal. The forces involved were catastrophic. But Chief's Spartan augmentations, Mjolnir's strength enhancement, and 40 years of combat experience turned what should have been suicide into something that merely violated several laws of physics. He threw the missile back at the helicopter. The pilot saw it coming, had maybe half a second to process that his own weapon was returning to sender, and tried to evade, too slow. One of the missiles struck the gunship's tail rotor with the precision of a Spartan who'd been throwing grenades since age 6. The helicopter spun, lost control, and crashed into the mountainside with a fireball that Chief's HUD automatically dimmed to prevent optical overload. He fell, hit the truck's roof hard enough to dent the metal, and maglocked himself back into place. His shields were at 3%. His entire body felt like it had been hit by a warthog. Cortana was screaming damage warnings across his HUD. But the missile was gone, the helicopter was gone, and they were still moving. What the hell was that? Celine's voice through the radio carried genuine shock. Tactical improvisation. The second gunship had seen what happened to its partner and wisely decided to maintain distance, circling at range, probably calling for reinforcements. But the ground pursuit was more immediate. 3 jeeps, gaining fast, mounted weapons opening fire. Chief drew his sidearm and returned fire with the precision that had made him legendary. 48 rounds, 47, 46. Each shot found its target. Tires blown, drivers killed, gunners eliminated. The jeep spun out, crashed, or simply stopped being threats. His ammunition counter read 29 rounds. They'd cleared the immediate pursuit, but Chief's tactical overlay showed more vehicles mobilizing from the facility. Lane wasn't giving up. He'd invested too much in this operation to let 70 test subjects escape. Lucian, status on extraction route? The radio crackled with Lycan voices, the sound of weapons fire in the background. Holding the access road, but we've got problems. Antigens deploying hybrids. 3 of them, maybe more. My people are good, but these things regenerate faster than we can damage them. 3 hybrids. Each one as dangerous as the monster they'd fought in Budapest. Even a full pack of Lycans would struggle against that kind of threat. Cortana, alternative extraction routes? Plotting. Chief, there's a small town 15 kilometers northeast. Brasov, population about 250,000. Large enough to disappear in. Public enough that Antigen can't operate openly without exposing themselves. If we can reach it, we can use human crowds as cover. It was the opposite of standard extraction doctrine. Going into populated areas increased collateral damage risk, civilian casualties, mission complications. But standard doctrine assumed you had backup, air support, and extraction assets. Chief had a vampire, 70 traumatized prisoners, and 29 rounds of ammunition. Celine, a change of route. Head for Brasov. We're going to ground in a civilian population center. That's insane. We're vampires and Lycans. We can't just walk into a human city. You can, if the alternative is antigen recapture. Lane can't deploy hybrids openly in a populated area without exposing his entire operation. We use human laws and human witnesses as shields. There was silence on the radio. Then Celine's voice came back with something like admiration. You fight like someone who spent their entire life turning disadvantages into weapons. Close enough. The trucks turned northeast, abandoning the mountain road for a highway that led toward civilization. Behind them, Antigen's pursuit began to falter. They couldn't maintain high-speed vehicle combat on public roads without attracting police attention, media coverage, questions they couldn't answer. But the second gunship still circled above, maintaining visual contact, radiating threat. Chief aimed his sidearm at the helicopter. Impossible shot, atmospheric scatter, moving target, limited ammunition. Everything about it screamed tactically unsound. He fired anyway. Once, twice, 3 times. The third round, launched from a Spartan's steady hand, calculated by an AI's targeting algorithms, blessed by luck that Spartans made for themselves, punched through the helicopter's canopy and killed the pilot. The gunship spun wildly, autopilot engaging too late, and crashed into the forest canopy kilometers behind them. Chief's ammunition counter read 26 rounds. Celine's laugh came through the radio, slightly manic, carrying the edge of combat high that all warriors knew. Spartans, and always overachieving. They reached Brasov as dawn broke over the Carpathian Mountains. The city was waking, early morning traffic, commuters, normal humans living normal lives, completely unaware that 2 trucks full of supernatural creatures were about to drive into their city. Chief scanned the streets, his tactical mind already planning. Hospital, the regional medical center, public space, security cameras, civilian witnesses. Antigen can't touch us there without exposing themselves. And then what? Celine asked. We can't keep 70 vampires and Lycans in a human hospital indefinitely. Eventually someone will notice. Eventually, Antigen will find a way to extract us quietly. Eventually, Chief agreed. But not today. Today we bought these prisoners time to have their implants removed surgically. Time to warn their people about Antigen's surveillance program. Time to turn Lane's intelligence asset into disinformation weapon. Understanding dawned in Celine's voice. We feed false information through the implants. Make Lane think he's tracking his subjects when really he's being fed exactly what we want him to see. Exactly. Turn his weapon against him. It's a tactic called deception warfare. Celine finished. Vampires have been using it for centuries, just never against humans with this level of technology. The trucks pulled into the hospital's emergency entrance. The sight must have been surreal. 70 disheveled people, some with obvious injuries, all of them looking like they'd escaped from somewhere terrible, pouring out of vehicles and moving toward the entrance with the coordination of a military unit. And security guards moved to intercept. Celine spoke in rapid Romanian, spinning a story about a bus accident in the mountains, multiple casualties, need for immediate medical attention. The guards were skeptical until they saw the injuries. Real wounds, real trauma, impossible to fake. Within minutes, the hospital mobilized. Doctors, nurses, administrators. The machinery of modern medicine grinding into action because that's what hospitals did. They helped people who needed help. No questions about whether those people had fangs or claws or immortality running through their veins. Chief stood in the emergency room, his armor drawing stares from medical staff who'd probably never seen anything like it, and watched as vampires and Lycans received care from humans who had no idea what they were treating. "It won't last," Selene said quietly, and he's standing beside him. "Eventually the implants will give us away. Eventually antigen will come. Eventually this fragile moment of peace will shatter." "Yes," Chief agreed. "But we bought them hours, maybe days. In my experience, that's enough time to change everything." His motion tracker showed Lucian's forces withdrawing from the mountain pass, the Lycan leader's voice coming through the radio with grudging respect. "Spartan, you just turned a tactical disaster into a strategic opportunity. Lane wanted surveillance. You're giving him poison. He wanted his test subjects scattered and vulnerable. You've given them time to organize a counter-operation. Well played. Mission isn't over. We still need to coordinate implant removal, establish secure communications, and plan our next move." "Agreed. And Spartan? When this is finished, then when we've dealt with antigen and saved our people, you'll have earned the respect of every Lycan in Eastern Europe. That's not something we give lightly." Chief's response was flat, emotionless, the voice of a soldier who'd heard promises before. "I don't need respect. I need Lane stopped before he creates an army of hybrids that makes both our species extinct. Then we're in agreement." The radio clicked off. Chief stood in the hospital corridor, surrounded by human medicine treating supernatural patients, watching a moment of impossible cooperation between species that had been killing each other for centuries. And somewhere in the Carpathian Mountains, Dr. Jacob Lane watched his surveillance feeds and realized that the Spartan had just turned his greatest tactical advantage into a strategic liability. The war was changing, yet the old rules no longer applied. And Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 had just proven that sometimes the only way to win was to rewrite the battlefield itself. Dr. Jacob Lane stood in his office 3 levels beneath Research Station Omega, watching surveillance feeds from 70 tracking implants, and smiled despite the catastrophic loss of facility security, 2 gunships, and 3 dozen trained operatives. "They think they've won," he said to the figure standing in the shadows behind him. "They think taking my test subjects to a human hospital makes them safe. They think I didn't plan for this exact scenario." The figure stepped forward into the light, and what emerged made the hybrid soldiers look like crude prototypes. 7 feet tall, perfectly proportioned, moving with grace that suggested complete control over enhanced biology. No visible scars, no monstrous features, just a human form perfected beyond natural limits. "The Spartan is more resourceful than projected," the figure said, its voice carrying neither vampire's cold aristocracy nor Lycan's bestial undertones. Just calm, clinical assessment. Previous models would have extracted to Lycan territory or vampire covens. He chose the one option our algorithms didn't predict, using human civilization as a shield. "Which is why he's invaluable," Lane replied, pulling up tactical footage of Chief redirecting the missile mid-flight. "That armor, that strength, that tactical brilliance. Imagine what we could accomplish if we could reverse engineer his technology, combine it with our hybrid formula. We'd create soldiers that make both vampires and Lycans obsolete. The question remains, how do we capture him? Standard tactics have failed. The facility's security was insufficient. The helicopter assault was neutralized. And now he's in a public space where we can't deploy lethal force without exposure." Lane's smile widened. "That's why we don't use lethal force. We use something he can't fight with strength or tactics or that impressive armor. He activated a different screen, showing hospital security camera feeds. We use leverage. Brasov Regional Medical Center, 0847 hours. Master Chief stood in a maintenance corridor, watching hospital staff move about their duties through security camera feeds Cortana had accessed. 70 prisoners were being processed, the ones with immediate medical needs receiving treatment, the others being held in a secure wing under the guise of contamination quarantine, while doctors tried to understand injuries that violated known medicine. The implants are proving difficult, Cortana reported, in her avatar displayed on a borrowed hospital computer. They're embedded deep in subcutaneous tissue, wrapped around major blood vessels. Surgical removal requires specialized equipment and expertise these doctors don't have. Even if they did, we're talking hours of surgery per subject. Chief's tactical mind calculated 70 subjects, 3 hours per surgery, working around the clock with the hospital's limited surgical capacity. They'd need weeks to remove all the implants. They didn't have weeks. Alternative options? I could try to fry the implants remotely, overload their circuits with an electromagnetic pulse. But that risks cooking the surrounding tissue, potentially fatal for weaker subjects. It's a last resort option. Celine appeared at the corridor's entrance, moving with the silent grace of a predator who'd learned to walk among humans without being noticed. Her coat was clean now, borrowed from Hospital Lost and Found, but her eyes still carried the weight of the facility's horrors. "The Lycans are getting restless," she said quietly. "They're grateful for the rescue, but being surrounded by human doctors with needles and questions is triggering their fight-or-flight instincts. We've had 2 partial transformations already. The medical staff is starting to ask questions we can't answer. And the vampires? Better at maintaining composure. But some of them are blood-starved. Lane's experiments didn't include feeding them. They're looking at the hospital staff like meals, and it's only a matter of time before someone's control slips." Chief processed the threat assessment. Mission parameters degrading, time working against them, no clear extraction path forward. Standard doctrine would be to establish a defensive perimeter and wait for reinforcement. But there was no reinforcement coming. Just him, Celine, and 70 traumatized immortals in a building full of civilians who had no idea they were sitting on a powder keg. His motion tracker pinged. New signatures entering the hospital. 20 contacts, moving in coordinated formation, civilian clothes but military bearing. Not doctors, not visitors, antigen. Cortana, hospital security feeds, main entrance. The screens showed men and women in business attire, carrying briefcases and credentials that identified them as representatives from the Romanian Ministry of Health. Perfect cover. Officials investigating a mass casualty incident, completely legitimate, above suspicion. "They're evacuating the hospital," Cortana said, tracking the officials' movements through camera feeds. "Claiming contamination risk, ordering all non-critical patients transferred to other facilities, clearing the building floor by floor, which leaves us isolated with no civilian witnesses." Chief recognized the tactic immediately. Create a sterile environment, remove variables, establish controlled conditions for capture or kill. Time until they reach the quarantine wing? 30 minutes. Not enough time to extract 70 subjects through a hospital full of antigen operatives. Not enough time to remove the implants surgically. Not enough time to establish a defensive position that could hold against superior numbers. Time to change the game board. "Celine, gather the prisoners. Everyone who can walk, arm them. The hospital has a loading dock for supply deliveries. We'll use it for extraction." "Extract to where?" "Antigen's probably watching every exit." "We don't exit. We go deeper." Chief pulled up a city map on Cortana's display. Brashov sits above an extensive network of medieval tunnels and modern sewers. The hospital's basement connects to the municipal water system. We use the same infiltration route they'd never expect us to use as an escape. Celine studied the map, her centuries of tactical experience recognizing the strategy's merit. The old ways, Vampires and Lycans have been using tunnel networks for centuries. Antigen's tactical doctrine is built around modern technology. They won't think to guard medieval infrastructure. Exactly. But we need a diversion to buy time for the extraction. I'll handle it. Celine's smile was sharp and predatory. I used to be a death dealer. I know how to create chaos that draws every guard in a building to one location. Before Chief could respond, his motion tracker lit up with a new signature. Massive, fast, moving with purpose directly toward their position. Not approaching from the main entrance, from below. From the tunnels Chief had just suggested using for escape. Understanding hit with tactical clarity. Lane had known, had predicted this exact move, had positioned assets to intercept them before they could even attempt extraction. The maintenance corridor's floor exploded upward in a shower of concrete and broken pipe. What emerged made the facility's hybrids look like prototypes. The creature stood 8 feet tall, its body a seamless integration of vampire speed, Lycan strength, and something new. Cybernetic enhancement visible beneath transparent synthetic skin. Armor plating grafted onto bone. Weapon systems integrated into forearms. Eyes that glowed not with supernatural power, but with targeting computers running combat algorithms. Dr. Lane sends his regards. The hybrid said, its voice artificially modulated, carrying harmonics that made Chief's threat assessment spike. He calls me Omega, the perfected soldier, the proof that biology and technology united create something superior to either alone. It moved, fast, faster than the facility hybrid, faster than Celine. Fast enough that Chief's motion tracker painted a blur instead of a clean target lock. The creature's fist drove toward Chief's helmet with enough force to shatter concrete. Chief's shields flared, absorbing impact that would have killed an unarmored human instantly. The kinetic energy drove him backward 3 meters, his boots carving furrows in the hospital floor. His HUD flashed warnings, shields down to 47%, recharge protocols struggling against the hybrid's disruption field. Chief, that thing is generating some kind of electromagnetic interference. Cortana's voice was distorted, fighting through static. It's specifically designed to counter energy shields. On every hit damages your shield emitters, even after the impact is absorbed. Tactical reassessment. Conventional engagement would degrade his defensive capabilities until his shields failed permanently. He needed to change the paradigm. Chief drew his combat knife. 20 centimeters of titanium carbide alloy designed to penetrate Covenant armor. He closed with the hybrid in a move that violated every tactical doctrine about engaging superior strength enemies in melee. The hybrid's cybernetic eyes widened fractionally, surprise at a tactic it hadn't predicted. Chief exploited that microsecond of uncertainty, his knife driving toward the hybrid's throat with Spartan precision. The blade met resistance, subdermal armor plating, exactly where Chief expected it. But armor had seams, had joints, had vulnerable points that no engineer could completely eliminate. Chief's knife found the gap between neck armor and skull plating, driven by enhanced muscle and 40 years of close-quarters combat experience. The blade penetrated, and for one perfect moment, Chief thought he'd found the killing strike. Then the hybrid's regeneration activated. Flesh knitted around the blade, bone reformed. The wound that should have been fatal became superficial in seconds. The hybrid grabbed Chief's wrist with strength that made his armor's structural warnings scream and threw him through a hospital wall. Chief crashed through drywall, medical equipment, and a nurse's station before his momentum was arrested by a support column. His shields were at 12%. His armor showed minor damage to the left shoulder actuator. And the hybrid was already coming through the Chief-shaped hole in the wall, moving with terrifying purpose. Celine hit it from the side, pistols blazing, silver nitrate rounds punching into cybernetic flesh. The hybrid didn't even slow. It backhanded her with casual force that sent a 600-year-old vampire flying like a ragdoll. "New plan," Chief said into the radio, already moving, drawing the hybrid away from the quarantine wing and its vulnerable prisoners. "Celine, execute extraction now. I'll occupy Omega." "Chief, you can't fight that thing alone. I'm not alone. I have Cortana." He fired his sidearm, 3 shots, aimed not at the hybrid, but at ceiling support structures. Concrete and steel rained down, creating obstacles, forcing the hybrid to navigate terrain instead of just charging straight. And I fought worse. It wasn't entirely a lie. The flood had been worse. The didact had been worse. But this thing, this perfected combination of supernatural biology and cybernetic enhancement, was in the top 10 most dangerous opponents Chief had ever faced, and he was down to 23 rounds with no way to resupply. Cortana, analysis. How do I kill it? Working on it. The regeneration is... Chief, it's not just biological. There are nanomachines in its bloodstream, microscopic repair units that can reconstruct tissue faster than you can damage it. Even a headshot might not be fatal if the nanites can maintain brain function long enough for regeneration. Weaknesses? Every complex system has failure points. The cybernetic implants require power. There's probably a central fusion core or battery somewhere in its torso. The nanites need raw materials for reconstruction. Sustained damage faster than it can heal might overwhelm the system. And the targeting computer is vulnerable to electronic warfare if I can get close enough to hack it. Chief processed this while dodging the hybrid's next attack, a strike that cratered the floor where he'd been standing. How close? Direct physical contact. I need to interface with its systems, which means you need to hold it still long enough for me to establish a connection. Hold still a creature that's stronger than me, faster than me, and regenerates from fatal wounds. Yes. Standard Tuesday for a Spartan. Chief's tactical mind ran scenarios, discarding dozens of approaches before settling on one that was absolutely insane, and therefore might actually work. He needed the hybrid's full attention. It needed it focused entirely on him. Needed it to make the mistake of thinking it had won. He holstered his sidearm and charged. The hybrid's targeting computer analyzed the approach. Unarmed Spartan, damaged shields, no apparent weapon. Tactically unsound decision. It calculated Chief's attack vectors, his probable strike points, his likely defensive responses. It didn't calculate for the Spartan doing something that violated every survival instinct. Chief grabbed the hybrid in a bear hug. His armor's servos screamed. His shields flared and died, energy completely exhausted. The hybrid's strength was crushing, literally. Chief felt his armor beginning to buckle under forces that would have turned an unarmored human to paste. But he held on. Cortana, now. The AI dove through Chief's neural interface, using his armor's contact with the hybrid cybernetic systems as a bridge. She hit the creature's targeting computer like a digital hurricane, her code ripping through security protocols designed to resist conventional hacking. The hybrid's eyes flickered, targeting reticles appearing and disappearing, combat algorithms crashing and rebooting. It tried to shake Chief off, but Spartan training and enhanced strength turned the grapple into a contest of pure will. I'm in. Cortana's voice was strained, fighting battles in digital space while Chief fought in physical. Chief, its power core is shielded, but I can disrupt the neural interface between biological and cybernetic systems. It'll be paralyzed for maybe 10 seconds. Make them count. The hybrid froze, its body locked in position as Cortana's attack severed the connection between brain and cybernetic enhancement. 10 seconds of complete vulnerability. Chief didn't waste them. He drew his combat knife again, this time aiming not for the throat, but for the eyes. Vulnerable sensors that no amount of subdermal armor could protect. The blade punched through synthetic optical components, through targeting computers, through the neural interface that connected the hybrid's enhanced brain to its weapon systems. The creature screamed, a sound that was part biological agony, part electronic feedback, completely inhuman. Chief twisted the blade and pulled, ripping out circuitry and flesh in a spray of blood and sparking electronics. The hybrid's regeneration activated, but Cortana's attack had damaged the nanite control systems. The repair process was chaotic, uncoordinated, creating scar tissue instead of functional organs. The hybrid stumbled, blind, its targeting systems destroyed, its perfect coordination shattered. It was still dangerous, still strong, still fast. But it was fighting on instinct now, instead of computer-assisted precision. Chief didn't give it time to adapt. He grabbed a fallen IV pole, steel, heavy, improvised weapon, and drove it through the hybrid's chest with enough force to punch through armor plating and pin the creature to the floor. "Power core located," Cortana said, highlighting a point in the hybrid's torso where energy signatures were concentrated. One good shot might trigger a catastrophic failure. Chief had 2 rounds left in his sidearm. He drew it, aimed at the highlighted point, and fired. The first round punched through armor. He threw flesh through the shielding around the hybrid's power core. The second round followed the exact same path, exploiting the hole created by the first. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hybrid's chest erupted in an explosion of contained fusion energy and biological matter. The creature's regeneration tried to compensate, but you couldn't regenerate from having your power source vaporized and your torso reduced to component atoms. Omegastis, Lane's perfected soldier, his proof that biology and technology could create something superior to either alone, died on a hospital floor, killed by a Spartan who'd been turning impossible odds into victories since age 6. Chief stood over the corpse, his armor damaged, his shields offline, his ammunition exhausted, breathing hard inside his helmet. And his HUD showed structural damage across multiple systems, power reserves dropping, limited combat effectiveness. But he was alive. The hybrid wasn't. Mission parameters acceptable. "Chief, Seleni's extracted the prisoners," Cortana reported. "They're in the tunnels, moving toward a Lycan safe house Lucian's coordinating. The hospital's been evacuated. Antigen operatives are searching floor by floor, but they haven't found us yet. Then we leave before they do." Chief moved toward the maintenance access that led to the tunnel system, but stopped at when his motion tracker painted a new signature. Single contact, human-sized, moving without fear or hesitation directly toward his position. Dr. Jacob Lane emerged from the hospital corridor, unarmed, wearing an expensive suit that looked completely out of place in the destruction. He looked at Omega's corpse, then at Chief, and his expression showed neither fear nor anger. Just scientific curiosity. "Fascinating," Lane said, his voice carrying the detached tone of a researcher observing an experiment. "You destroyed my most advanced prototype in under 3 minutes. Omega was designed to counter Spartan capabilities based on extrapolation from your performance data. Yet, you still won." Chief's targeting reticle painted Lane's head. Finger on the trigger. One word, and the doctor would die. The question is why? Lane continued, seemingly unconcerned about the weapon aimed at him. Omega had superior strength, speed, regeneration, and technological enhancement. By every objective measure, it should have won. Yet here we are. My creation dead, you victorious. What variable did I miss? Experience, Chief said flatly. Your hybrid was designed yesterday. I've been fighting for 40 years. Experience beats specifications. Lane smiled like Chief had just confirmed a hypothesis. Of course, the intangible factor, combat wisdom, tactical intuition, the things that can't be programmed or grown in a lab. He pulled out a small recording device. Do you mind if I document this? For my research? You're insane. I'm scientific. There's a difference. Lane gestured to Omega's corpse. That hybrid represented 6 months of work and 30 million euros in resources. You destroyed it in minutes. That's valuable data. It tells me what doesn't work, which brings me closer to what will. Chief's threat assessment was screaming warnings. Lane was too calm, too comfortable, too unconcerned about being at gunpoint, which meant his motion tracker lit up. 60 signatures converging from multiple entry points. Not antigen operatives, something else. Something that moved with coordinated precision that suggested hive mind intelligence. Ah, Lane said pleasantly. They're here. My other project. Not hybrids, something better. Something that doesn't require individual intelligence or experience because they share a collective consciousness. Individual units might fall, but the swarm learns, adapts, and evolves with every engagement. The hospital walls burst inward as Lane's other project revealed itself. Humanoid figures, but wrong. Pale skin stretched over muscles that moved with insectoid coordination. Eyes that glowed with shared intelligence. Mouths filled with teeth designed for tearing flesh and drinking blood. Vampires, but not natural ones. These were manufactured, cloned, enhanced, networked together through technology that turned individual predators into a coordinated hunting pack. I call them the Collective, Lane said, already backing toward the exit. They're not as strong as Omega individually, but they don't need to be. They share sensory data, tactical analysis, combat experience. Fighting one is fighting all of them simultaneously. I'm curious to see how a Spartan handles a true swarm intelligence. Lane disappeared into the corridor, his voice echoing back. Consider this a field test. If you survive, the data will be invaluable. If you don't, well, we'll harvest your armor and learn from your corpse instead. The Collective surged forward as one, moving with precision that made Chief's threat assessment recalculate combat effectiveness from challenging to potentially unsurvivable. He had no ammunition. His shields were offline, his armor was damaged, and he was facing 60 networked vampire clones designed specifically to counter everything Spartans were good at. This was going to be interesting. The first wave hit like a living tide. Chief's combat knife met the lead vampire's throat, titanium carbide edge parting synthetic flesh, severing spine, terminating biological function. The corpse dropped. 2 more took its place immediately, moving with coordination that suggested they'd already analyzed his attack pattern and adapted. Chief sidestepped the first, using MJOLNIR's mask to deflect the second into the third. They tumbled in a tangle of thrashing limbs, but the 4th and 5th were already inside his guard. Claws raking across damaged armor, finding the gaps where shield emitters had failed. His HUD flashed warnings. Left gauntlet compromised. Chest plate integrity at 67%. Reactor output fluctuating due to sustained impact damage. Not fatal, Not yet. But accumulating damage faster than even a Spartan could compensate. Look, Cortana, tactical analysis. Now. Chief, they're not just coordinated, they're learning. Every engagement, every successful attack, they're updating their swarm intelligence with your combat data. The more you fight, the better they get at fighting you. Standard Covenant tactics. Adapt to enemy patterns, exploit weaknesses, overwhelm through superior numbers. But the Covenant had never been able to update their entire fleet's tactical database in real time based on individual soldier engagements. This wasn't a swarm. It was a single distributed intelligence learning how to kill Master Chief. He grabbed the nearest vampire and used it as an improvised weapon, swinging the thrashing body into 3 of its fellows with enough force to break bones even through enhanced physiology, when the collective's response was immediate. They gave ground, re-established formation, approached from angles that denied him leverage. They were learning. Chief's tactical mind ran through options with desperate speed. Ammunition, 0. Shields, offline. Armor, degrading. Allies, extracted. Extraction route, blocked. Reinforcements, none. The hospital corridor became a killing ground. Chief moved through it with the economy of motion that had defined his combat career. Every strike precise, every dodge calculated, every use of environment optimized. But the collective adapted faster than he could innovate. A vampire got through his guard, claws raking across his helmet's optical sensors. His HUD flickered, display fragmented, targeting reticle disintegrating into static. Chief killed that vampire with a strike that shattered its skull, but the damage was done. I'm losing visual. Cortana's voice was strained, fighting to maintain sensor integration with compromised hardware. Chief, your helmet's optical array is 40% degraded. I can compensate with tactical overlay, but your field of view is compromised. Adapt and overcome. He switched to motion tracker and physical contact, fighting blind against enemies that shared perfect visual data. His strikes became more defensive, preserving armor, conserving energy, buying time he didn't know how to use. A vampire latched onto his right arm, claws digging into the weakened gauntlet. Chief smashed it against the wall, then the floor, then another vampire that tried to exploit his distraction. The first one's grip didn't loosen even in death. Its fingers had locked into the armor's servos, disabling the entire limb. Chief's right arm went dead. No motor function, no sensor feedback. Just a 3-kilo weight of non-responsive metal and plastic hanging at his side. Tactical assessment. Combat effectiveness degraded to 34%. Probability of survival in current engagement, 12%. Probability of mission completion with current assets, 7%. Chief, we need to fall back, Cortana urged. Celine's extraction route is still open. If we can reach the tunnels, lose them in the old network. No. If I run, they pursue the prisoners. Lane's objective is the collective data, not the escapees. I'm the target worth capturing. You can't fight 60 networked super soldiers with one arm and no weapons. Then I'll fight them with no arms and no weapons. Adapt and overcome. Chief dropped his useless right arm and drew his combat knife with his left. The collective paused. Not hesitation, data analysis. They'd never seen him fight left-handed. His combat profile suggested 40% reduced effectiveness with non-dominant limb engagement. They calculated, adapted, attacked. The next wave came from 3 directions simultaneously, coordinating their strikes to exploit his blind side and disabled arm. Chief killed 2 with knife thrusts that found throats and eyes. A third got through, claws raking across his chest plate, finding the seam between armor sections, punching through to the undersuit beneath. Warning, armor breach. Chest plate integrity 23%, Environmental seal compromised. Chief killed that vampire with an elbow strike that crushed its skull. But the damage was done. He could feel cold air against his skin through the breach, the first time his armor had failed him since Reach. 43 collective units remaining. Chief's combat knife slick with synthetic blood, his HUD flickering, his right arm dead, his chest exposed. "Chief, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the building's main electrical distribution," Cortana said, her voice carrying the edge of someone running desperate calculations. "The hospital's emergency generators are still active. If I can overload them, I might be able to trigger a cascading failure in the collective's neural network. Their swarm intelligence is electromagnetic in nature. A strong enough pulse could disrupt their coordination." "How long?" 30 seconds to access the generator controls remotely. Another 30 for the overload sequence. I need you to hold them for 1 minute. 1 minute against 43 networked supersoldiers armed with degraded combat effectiveness and no backup. 60 seconds, starting now. Chief changed tactics. No more defensive positioning, no more economy of motion. He went on the offensive, charging into the collective's formation with aggression that surprised even their adaptive intelligence. His knife found throats, eyes, the vulnerable points at the base of skulls where even enhanced vampires could be killed. 3 down, 5 down, 8 down. They responded by adapting their tactics to his aggression, giving ground, drawing him deeper, surrounding him in a tightening circle that would leave no escape route. Chief recognized the maneuver. He'd used it himself against Covenant forces on Harvest, on Reach, on Installation 04. He was walking into an encirclement, but walking in was the only way to keep them focused on him instead of the prisoners. 12 down, 15 down. His left arm was tiring, Spartan endurance notwithstanding. Fighting 43 superhuman opponents with 1 limb and a knife was pushing even his limits. 30 seconds, Chief. Generator access established. Beginning overload sequence. The collective recognized something was wrong. Their adaptive intelligence couldn't read Cortana's electronic warfare. She was operating on frequencies they weren't designed to detect. But they could read Chief's tactical shift. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to hold them in position. They surged forward in a coordinated wave, abandoning individual combat for collective overwhelm. Chief killed 3, 4, 5. But they kept coming, climbing over their fallen, using bodies as platforms and shields. He was going to be buried under living flesh. 21 down. Chief's knife arm was grabbed by 2 vampires simultaneously, their combined strength finally overpowering his enhanced muscle. Another vampire tore the knife from his grip. A third ripped his helmet's damaged optical array from its housing, exposing his face to cold hospital air and glowing, predatory eyes. He looked at his enemies. Cloned vampires, manufactured soldiers, products of Lane's obsessive pursuit of biological perfection, and felt something he hadn't experienced since he was 6 years old, standing in Dr. Halsey's laboratory, being told he was going to save humanity. Fear, not for himself, for the mission, for the 70 prisoners who were counting on him, for Celine, Multiverse who'd finally found something worth fighting for beyond revenge, for the impossible alliance of vampires and Lycans and one stranded Spartan that might actually change this world's eternal war. 5 seconds, Chief. Overload in 5. The collective screamed. It wasn't a biological sound. They had no unified vocal cords, no shared breath to expel. It was electromagnetic feedback translated through cybernetic implants. A death cry from an intelligence that had just experienced catastrophic system failure. Cortana's overload cascade hit the hospital's power distribution network. and traveled through every electrical system in the building. The collective's neural network, designed to coordinate individual units through wireless data exchange, became a conduit for pure destructive energy. 62 vampire clones collapsed simultaneously, their cybernetic implants smoking, their shared consciousness dissolving into digital noise. They fell like puppets with severed strings, twitching in death throes that slowly, mercifully ceased. Chief stood alone in a room full of corpses, his armor shattered, his face exposed, his right arm hanging useless at his side. His HUD was dead. His motion tracker was static. His only functional systems were the most basic life support and the fusion reactor that kept his heart beating. "Cortana," he said. No response. "Cortana, status report." Static, then faintly. "If. Overload cascade, feedback loop, I'm fragmented, need time to recompile. Can you repair the armor?" "Negative. System's too damaged. Need maintenance facility. Need UNSC support? Neither available." Her voice was fading, individual syllables dissolving into digital noise. "Chief, I'm sorry, I can't, Silence. "Cortana?" Nothing. Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 stood in the ruins of a hospital that had become a battlefield, surrounded by the corpses of manufactured vampires, his armor destroyed, his AI silent, his ammunition exhausted, his allies extracted, his mission incomplete. For the first time in 40 years, he was completely alone. He walked through the hospital's destroyed corridors, his footsteps echoing in the unnatural silence. The building was empty. Patients evacuated, staff fled, antigen operatives withdrawn once their collective failed. Just dust, debris, and the smell of ozone and blood. He found Dr. Lane's recording device on the floor, still active, its red light blinking steadily as it documented Omega's corpse on the fallen collective, the damaged Spartan. Chief picked it up, looked directly into its lens, and spoke. "Dr. Lane, your hybrids failed. Your collective failed. Your facility is compromised, and your research is destroyed. You have no more weapons, no more soldiers, no more experiments that won't be hunted by every vampire and Lycan in Europe. Who knows what you did to their people?" He paused, choosing his words with the precision of a soldier delivering a final ultimatum. "I'm coming for you. Not because I was ordered to. Not because it's my mission. Because you're the enemy. And Spartans don't stop fighting until the enemy is destroyed." He crushed the recording device in his armored left hand, its components grinding to dust. The hospital's emergency exit led to an alley that smelled of rain and rust. The chief emerged into the brush-off morning, his damaged armor catching pale sunlight, his face visible for any human who happened to look. A few did. Pedestrians, early workers, a woman walking her dog. They stared at the 7-foot figure in olive green armor, at the exposed features that could have belonged to any soldier from any country, at the blood and damage that spoke of violence they couldn't imagine. No one screamed. No one ran. They just watched, frozen, as this impossible figure walked past them and disappeared into the city's ancient streets. Celine found him an hour later, sitting on a bench in a small park, watching children play on swings. She sat beside him without speaking, her vampire senses reading the damage to his armor, the exhaustion in his posture, the absence of the AI that had been his constant companion. "Lucian's people secured the prisoners," she said quietly. "We're establishing a neutral medical facility. Vampire physicians, Lycan resources, human equipment. Lane's implants are being removed. It'll take weeks, but they'll survive." Chief nodded slowly. His eyes, Celine could see them clearly now, without the helmet's golden visor, were old. Older than his physical age should allow. 40 years of war had accumulated there, and the weight was visible. Cortana? Selena asked. Offline. System damage. I don't know if she can recover. She's an AI. Can't you reboot her? Reinstall from backup? I'm not in UNSC space. No backups, no technical support. No way to diagnose the damage. Chief's voice was flat, emotionless. The same tone he'd used to report casualties on 100 battlefields. She gave everything to save the prisoners. To save me. I don't know if it was enough. Celine watched the children play, their laughter carrying across the morning air. You're thinking about giving up. No, Spartans don't give up. I'm thinking about what comes next. Lane is still out there. His facility is damaged but not destroyed. His research notes are probably backed up in multiple locations. He'll rebuild, adapt, create something worse than Omega or the Collective. Yes. And you're going to stop him. Not because it's your mission, not because someone ordered you, because it's the right thing to do. Chief turned to look at her, and Selene saw something she'd never expected to see in the eyes of a super soldier engineered from childhood to be a weapon. Humanity. The Covenant wanted to exterminate my species because our existence contradicted their religion. Billions died. Entire worlds burned. We fought back because survival demanded it. He paused, choosing his words with careful precision. But Lane isn't fighting for survival. He's not protecting his people or defending his homeland. He's experimenting on sentient beings because he wants to see what happens. He's creating soldiers not to win a war, but because he can. And that makes him different from the Covenant. How? The Covenant believed they were right. Their religion, their prophets, their entire civilization. They genuinely thought humanity was an abomination that needed to be eliminated. It was wrong, but it wasn't meaningless. Chief's voice hardened. Lane doesn't believe anything except that his curiosity justifies any atrocity. That's not a cause. That's not a mission. That's just cruelty without purpose. Selene was quiet for a long moment, processing 6 centuries of war through this new lens. She'd fought vampires who believed in supremacy, Lycans who believed in revenge, humans who believed in fear. She'd never fought someone who believed in nothing but their own intellectual satisfaction. What do we do? She asked finally. How do you fight an enemy with no ideology, no morality, no purpose except self-gratification? The same way I fought the Covenant. One battle at a time, one victory at a time, one mission at a time. Chief stood, his damaged armor protesting the movement. Lane's facility is still operational. His research data is still intact. His funding and resources are still available. But he's not invincible. He's just a man with money and no conscience. I've killed gods. I can kill a scientist. Your armor is destroyed. Your weapons are empty. Your AI is offline. You can barely move your right arm. Selene stood beside him, her voice carrying neither pity nor doubt, just tactical assessment. What exactly are you planning to fight Lane with? Chief looked at his hands, the left still functional, the right hanging dead. He looked at the children playing, the morning sun, the ordinary human world that had no idea it was standing on the edge of an abyss. Myself, he said. That's always been enough. Selene smiled, and for the first time in 6 centuries, it reached her eyes. Then I suppose I should stick with you. Someone needs to watch your back while you're busy being the universe's most stubborn soldier. Your choice. I know. She extended her hand. Allies? Partners? Whatever you want to call it? Chief took her hand with his left, grip firm despite the armor damage. Teammates. Teammates, Selene agreed. Now let's go kill a god. They walked into the Brashov morning, a vampire and a Spartan, allies in a war that neither had chosen, but both would finish. Behind them, the hospital's ruins smoked. Before them, Dr. Jacob Lane calculated his next move, unaware that he'd just made the greatest strategic error of his career. He'd made it personal, and Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 had never lost a war that became personal. The Carpathian facility burned for 3 days, not because of antigen security systems or Lane's failsafes, because Master Chief walked in through the front door, past 200 security operatives who couldn't stop him, through 3 hybrid prototypes that tried and failed, into Lane's private office where the doctor sat waiting with the calm acceptance of a scientist observing his own extinction. "You can't stop research like mine," Lane said, his hands folded on his desk, his expression showing neither fear nor regret. "Even if you kill me, even if you destroy this facility, the knowledge exists. My notes are backed up in a dozen locations. My funding sources will find new researchers. My vision of human evolution will continue without me." Chief's response was one word: no. He didn't kill Lane. That was too easy, too quick, too merciful for a man who'd spent decades turning immortals into lab rats. Instead, Chief delivered Lane to a joint Vampire Lycan tribunal that had convened specifically to judge crimes against both species. The tribunal's verdict was unanimous, its sentence absolute, its execution swift and final. The Shadow War didn't end. Centuries of hatred don't evaporate because one scientist was stopped and 70 prisoners were saved. But something shifted in the aftermath of the Carpathian operation. Vampires and Lycans who'd fought together against antigen found it harder to view each other as pure enemies. Prisoners who'd been freed by the combined efforts of both species carried that experience back to their covens and packs. And Master Chief, stranded soldier from another universe, became something neither species had ever seen. A neutral party respected by both sides. A tactical consultant who evaluated conflicts based on strategy rather than ancient grudges. A reminder that some battles are worth fighting even when you can't win. Cortana's systems, slowly, gradually recompiled from fragmented code, scattered across Chief's damaged armor. She woke 3 weeks after the hospital battle. Her first words, a week. "Did we win?" "We're still fighting," Chief replied. "That's winning enough." The Forerunner artifact remained dormant, its purpose still unclear. Chief continued to search for a way home, but the search had become less urgent, less desperate. This world had enemies to fight, people to protect, a mission that had found him even when he'd stopped looking for one.